sparse on that front, but if
I
so,
think
we'll
I
pick it
may
up.
be too.
Yeah, and if we get there, that's fine. What we'll do is we'll wait till some of those members file in, and then we'll pick it up at the end if we have to. So, but we'll do a roll call then. All right. So grants to higher education: Alton Heathcote,
I am here.
Frank Wagster.
Is Frank coming today?
I think so. Yeah. Brian Tibbs, Dr. Ash, and then Melanie Doss. So looks like you guys are going to have to go third. So
We don't have a quorum then, do we?
we do not. We'll just wait for them to get here. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
All right. So we'll move on then to nominations committee, and I think we might be in the same situation there. So we may end up going straight to landscape.
No.
No, I think we're good. Landscape architect. Yeah, I think we're good. Nominations. Then we've got Rick Thompson. All right. Melanie Doss, Jeff Nally, and Jason Carter.
Here.
So we do have quorum there. So let's talk about nominations then. How about that? Do we have a slate, a panel, or did we come to any sort of conclusion on that?
We're waiting on Melanie. She has that information
Okay.
for us. So
All
if
right.
we could, she is here, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, then we'll landscape architect. Let's do that. All right. Blair Parker. You can go ahead and hit your mic there. If you can, if it's on. There we go.
I will call this meeting of Landscape Architecture Committee to order.
All right, then let Blair Parker. Here. Frank Wagster. And Jason Carter.
Here.
All right, so we can't have a discussion. We got quorum. 2 out of 3, we're there. So Blair, if you want to open us up, I'll tell you what. I'll set it up, tee it up, and then Blair, if you want to file in with any comments, concerns, or questions you had on that, and then we'll drive it from there. All right. So the only thing we have on our agenda for that is the application review for prior disciplinary action. Daryl McCann is listed there. And what we're looking at is the violation is on 1/15/22. The applicant renewed his Texas license and attested to having completed the required CE for the prior 2021 calendar year. On 3/15/22, it was determined based on submissions that the applicant did not complete any CE during the calendar year of 2021 per the attestation. The conclusion of that matter was that on 5/13/2025, a $1,700 fine, which was not paid at the time of agreed citation, was for which it was acknowledged, resulting in follow-up and amended consent order signed on 5/13/25. So $1,700 fine, his signature on 5/13/25, acknowledging that violation, and that's where we're at.
So in my review of this, it was, I needed to go through and look step by step what happened. So the bottom line is, this person made a misstep in Texas. He admitted to it. The state put a $1,700 fine on this individual. He agreed to pay it by the end of July. At this moment, we don't know if this individual has paid this or not. And the reason that may be important is it has something to do with the character of the individual. As design professionals, it's real easy to allow your license to lapse. It's a different story when you don't tell the truth about your continuing education. To me, it's a totally different thing. So those are sort of the factors as I see it. But I think there's enough I would like to get the opinion of the other two landscape architect.
Yeah, we're at the landscape architect committee. The other two committees didn't have quorum, so we just went ahead and jumped over to landscape architect. So that's where we're at now, talking about Mr. McCann and his application for review, prior disciplinary action. Jason, did you have any comments on that one?
So the concern is that he's failed to report it to us, right?
Well, he's looking for registration in Tennessee.
Yeah, the primary issue that we're looking at is we're looking under misconduct under 122.75. which states the resident knowingly provided false testimony or information to the board. Also, we could invoke TCA 62.230AA1, which says misconduct in the practice of landscape architecture, for fraud or deceit in obtaining a certificate of registration. So, it's just, if that's something that we want to do, or basically, can he proceed with an application here based on him getting, in essence, fraudulently getting a certificate in Texas? Now, when it talks about receiving a certificate of registration, it doesn't, specifically state ours, but at the same time too, misconduct in the practice of landscape architecture. Would you deem that to be misconduct in that practice? If so, what would be the remediation? Could he proceed? And if he could proceed with his application here, on what terms?
Any thoughts?
Sorry to slide in late.
Oh, you're right.
He won't get me the garage.
It's probably because I told them that. Go ahead and hit your thing so we can hear you, though. There you go.
Oh, now we're there. My understanding that Texas fined him or didn't
The
pay
te-
it,
te-
did they allow him to get his license?
Yeah. Short of the long, he attested to having CE didn't have. And then they issued a consent order because he wasn't able to provide that proof. He walked away because, I don't need this license. I'm in Georgia now, right? And then he comes back and decides, oops, I kind of need it, because it's jamming me up on other licenses and applications. I need to resolve that. And so he goes back to Texas, and Texas says, well, since you walked away from that, here's a $1,700 fine, and and they gave him basically, and he assigned that agreed citation order. So he did it, that agreed citation order based on his signature. He's acknowledging that I did not provide the CE, and he's entering into terms with them for that $1,700. But from what we can tell, he hasn't paid that fine yet, and so that's still, he signed it, and so he's entering an agreement with them, but we don't have any proof of resolution and restitution based on that fine. And so that's where we're at now is, what do we do now that he's come to us based on our misconduct rules and statute?
I think we should wait till he resolves his Texas problem.
Well, I was wanted to hear from you two, but I think my suggestion is for us to hold this until December, bring this back before the board, the Landscape Architecture Committee in December, and hopefully we'll have a little more clarity on that.
And we can do that, or what we could do as well, if you want to, is the terms could be satisfaction of the $1,700 fine and completion of the terms of that agreed citation. And if so, then administration will allow them to proceed through the, and you'll see that application anyway when it hits your queue, you and Frank or whatever. And if you had any more questions, then we could bring it before the board. But if you're like, no, this satisfies it, I think we're good, then we could go that route. But I mean, it's whatever you want to do. If you want to meet, we can, or it can just be as needed.
I think that's a good way to approach it myself, but I am curious, okay, if everybody agrees to that, then let's make a motion. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I think so. But just so that we know there was action taken by the committee, that would be helpful. So just a motion to, if he satisfies the terms of his consent order in Texas, then he can proceed with his application here.
Right.
So moved.
All right. Got a motion from Jason Carter. Do we have a second? Got a second from Mr. Wagster.
Any further discussion? Nope. Take a vote. All in favor? Aye.
All right. The ayes have it. All right. Thank you. And then all we have left, Chair, is new business if you have any. If not, we'll move on.
Well, no, I suppose in the main meeting, I'll discuss my CLARB. I would like to have a landscape architecture committee meeting next meeting, which is December, because what I'm doing is I'm comparing Tennessee's registration laws to the uniform standards of CLARB, and I'd like to bring that to you and show you the differences. Okay. Not that we're going to necessarily make a decision, but let's look at that and get that process started. Thank you.
No, that's helpful. Thank you. And I'm making a note of that now.
And I'll just I haven't read through these in detail, but high level, that was very much the general conversation at the NCAAS meeting too.
Really?
These primary topics.
I don't know why it surprises me, but it does, that all of our organizations all talk to one another, and they don't necessarily move together necessarily, but they're having the same discussions.
Well, it's like the theme of all the conferences there for a while were alternative pathways, everywhere. It's all at once. It was really interesting how that worked.
Yeah. So,
Okay, very well. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Well, we won't call it we won't adjourn because it's a continuous meeting. We're going to flow all the way into our board meeting. So we'll just pick up from the top then and do the Grants to Higher Education Committee. So you want to give that a whirl?
Can we get a roll call vote now?
Yes, sir. You can. Grants to Higher Education, we have Alton Heathcote,
I'm here.
Frank Wagster, Brian Tibbs, Dr. Ash, and Ms. Doss.
Here.
All right. Thanks.
Wahoo.
All right, Chair. It's all yours.
Well, very good. Thanks, everybody, and I appreciate that. I hope everybody had a chance to review all of the applications in great detail and follow along with what our universities are doing with the funds that they request, which I appreciate. It does look like everybody that requested funding followed the protocols and guidelines that we've established for the use of the funds. We've gone through the calculations. Hopefully everything checks out. It all added up to the place it was supposed to come up to $400,000. It came up to $400,000. And I guess before we make a motion to approve this, does anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve?
So Brian Tibbs, we have a motion from him. Do we have a second? Second from Dr. Ash.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like it's
All
unanimous.
right. Sounds good.
Should we, do we deconvene the grants
No,
committee?
we just, if you have any new business, you can discuss that. If not, then we'll take up the nominations committee and just keep rolling.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to come before the grants committee? We'll probably do the exact same exercise next year, I suppose.
I'll tell you, he worked himself into a permanent job because after looking at that
Yeah, man.
spreadsheet, I was like, there's a lot going on there. I mean, I started sweating bullets just looking at it. But once I got into it, it was really well thought out. So thank you, Alan, for doing that.
Look, I'm absolutely certain there's a better way to do this. I'm just not smart enough to figure it out.
No, not at all. He's being humble because he called me. He found some an edit that needed to be made to help feeding this calculation. I could almost hear that big calculator in the background as he was tabulating, and so but he got it done. So thank you for doing that.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I assume then that we are adjourned. The grants
We
committee.
won't adjourn, but we'll just move on to the next one. But yeah, very well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
Looks like we're ready then for the nominations committee. Ms. Doss, if you want to call to order, I'll do the roll call.
Is it possible for us to take a break?
You can.
Okay.
No, so we'll just we'll recess for how long do you need?
5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Okay. We'll go 10 minutes in.
minutes.
We'll be back then, and let me take a look at in case anyone's listening. We'll be back at 9:25. We'll say 9:25.
Glenn, quick question. I mean, isn't October the meeting date when we appoint committees?
What we've done is typically that belongs to the chair, and so the chair will just, when we appoint the chair, they'll reach out to me, or that chair, he or she will reach out to you and then start selecting their committees. It's kind of like the Speaker of the House, they choose their committees, and so
I'm
it's
very
similar.
comfortable with the committee as it's constituted right now for grants to higher education. If everybody's still willing to serve, I'll ask Brian, Frank, Ash, and Melanie. Are y'all continuing to be willing to serve on the grants to higher education committee? It's good with me.
And of course, the board chair will determine the chairs of the committees, and the committee chairs will determine. But I'm pretty sure you're safe because when I saw that
Nobody
spreadsheet,
else wants to
you
do
got
it.
no one's in the hunt. I think you got that one.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so, yeah, we'll be back in 9:25.
Calling the nominations committee to order.
Thank you, ma'am. Rick Thompson,
Here.
Melanie Doss,
Here.
Jeff Nally,
Here?
Jason Carter.
Here.
All right, we have quorum. The floor is yours, Ms. Doss.
The committee puts forth, I guess it's fair to say, an incomplete
Okay.
ballot
All
or
right.
slate.
We're just canceling a position because, we just don't need it.
Yeah, we just don't need a secretary. But Frank Wagster would be the chair for, you're not surprised, are you? Okay. For 2026. Jeff Nally would be the vice chair. And for the secretary, we need to have a conversation.
Okay, that's very well.
In order to firm
Well-
that final decision.
If you can, we've got time, so you just have it on the record, that's fine. There's no reason to reconvene at that point. If you guys want to sort of hammer it out, that's what we're here for. So go ahead and knock it out if you like.
We need to contact Philip.
Oh, Philip. Well, I'll tell you what we could do is put him forth as secretary and then just have an alternate in case he declines.
Okay,
We
that
can
sounds
do
good.
That'll work. And that way we
Okay.
can keep on moving, trekking forward. So
Okay.
that makes sense.
Okay, that sounds good. So Philip would be secretary and Dr. Ash would be in the wings. First alternate,
First alternate. That sounds
should he
perfect.
decide not to serve.
All right, well, that sounds like a slate to me. So then all you'll need in that regard is a motion and then a second and a vote. And I'll let you wrap that up in there, or if I can help, if you let me know.
And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Do you have any new business there, nominations committee?
No new business.
All right, so let's recess and we'll be back for our full board meeting at 10 o'clock. Thank you. All right, it's 10 o'clock. So I guess Chair, if you want to gavel us in.
Sans gavel, I'll call the October meeting of the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners to order, and we'll begin with a roll call.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, let me get there myself. Jason Carter,
Here.
Melanie Doss,
Here?
Philip Lim.
Here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Lim, appreciate you. Blair Parker,
Here?
Rick Thompson. Here. Brian Tibbs. Here. Frank Wagster.
Here.
Dr. Ash. Here. Jeff Nally.
Here.
Alton Heathcote.
I'm pleased to be here in service to the state of Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. Eddie Jett.
Here.
And James Collins.
Here.
All right, we've got quorum, Chair. So we'll just move on our way down the agenda here. The notice of public comment period, as you know, is located at the end of the agenda. So those that are online or that are present, that are in physical attendance here, if you would sign in either in the chat or at the podium if you'd like to speak, and then we'll check that at the end of our meeting, right before we adjourn. The meeting notice of the October 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Board of Architectural and Engineering Examiners has been noticed on the website since December 18, 2024. This month's agenda was posted on September 25th, 2025. As far as announcements, I don't have any unless the board has any. All right, hearing none, then we'll keep on trucking. The agenda. We'll just need a motion and a second for the agenda, or unless we have any edits. And then for its case, we'll also need a motion for that.
So moved.
Oh, there you are. Got a motion from Blair Parker, a second from Dr. Ash. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, that has passed. All right, approval of meeting minutes. You have those in front of you. Any edits or comments on that? All right, we'll just need a motion in that regard. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Second.
And got a second from Rick Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that's approved then. We'll get that up on the website here soon. Professional Society reports. Miss Casey Anderson, is she present? Okay. She's not present. Suzanne Herron from ASCE. And you'll want to hit that button there, and once it's red, you're on record.
That button. Good morning. I'm Suzanne Herron from the Tennessee section of ASCE, and we've been planning a conference. We're bringing back the ASCE Tennessee section conference in February. We haven't had this conference for several years, so we're excited to be bringing it back, and it's going to be on February 13th. And yeah, we're interested in, we've talked about having a couple of the board members come and speak and maybe be part of a panel on ethics, or if there's another presentation that y'all are interested in speaking about, we'd love to have you. We are currently looking for presentations and putting the agenda together, but this conference is going to be at the Smyrna Event Center on February 13th, so we look forward to seeing y'all. Any questions for me? So great, thank you.
All right. Let's Ashley Cates. Miss Cates, are you online? If so, if you want to just raise your hand. We've got quite a few people online since we have our grants presentation. So if you just want to raise your hand or put yourself in the chat box, we'll unmute you. Anything there? No? Okay. Let's move on then. Charlie Snyder from ASLA. Are you here, Charlie? All right. Let's see. ASID and IIDA, they are not here today. So as a result, Susan Ballard, are you here? If not, she did give me her report, and so I'll read that in the record if she's not. Oh, there she is. Thank you. All right, Miss Ballard. We'll unmute you, and then once they're there, you can take off. All right, Miss Ballard, are you there? Is she unmuted? Oh, you'll have to unmute Miss Ballard if on your end. It looks like we've unmuted on ours. We'll wait on her for just a second.
There we go.
Oh,
Finally.
there you go. We got you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you all for letting me speak on behalf of the two professional organizations. I got a notice at 6:15 this morning that I would need to step in, so I'm glad you all are letting me do that for my 12 o'clock meeting. So anyway, ASID and IIDA have both been very busy in the month of August and September getting ready for national meetings, state meetings, and the new boards. So I'll start with ASID. We have our new board as of October 1st, and planning is well underway for the year. The next monthly meeting is a continuing education class at Studio Val with Sierra Pacific on November 20th. Our state conference was held September 18th with 110 interior designers at our annual awards conference. And the second day, we had a professional development portfolio review and continuing education class. And we had over 60 students there for the portfolio review, which is wonderful. We also had students in attendance from ETSU, UTK, UTC, MTSU, and Belmont. As far as we know, the only school that wasn't represented was Memphis. So we're also excited to add Tennessee Tech as an ASID higher education member. And one of our awards that was presented was to Tiffany Clegg for the Humanitarian Award for a non-member that made a significant investment in the interior design profession in Tennessee in the past year. Last meeting, we discussed with you about the Designer for Dogs micro event in conjunction with Christopher Todd's new showroom and grand opening. It was a very large success, and a lot of planning is going into the new year with an emphasis on next generation leaders and student engagement. And moving on to IIDA, they had their annual Threads Are Fashion, where they take different types of finished materials and create clothing and do a walk and are voted upon by the membership, and that was on September 25th. It was a fantastic evening and a celebration of our creative design minds, and I saw some of the video and they were very good. In August, the chapter hosted a sponsorship roundtable to get feedback from their annual sponsors. August 26th, the Memphis City Center hosted a zero landfill. And if you all are not familiar with zero landfill, the designers take all of their unused samples or things that have been discontinued and we recycle them in ways with maybe art teachers or other organizations that will take the materials, and that way they don't end up in a landfill, they are reused. And ASID does that as well. The Nashville City Center, has hosted a committee planning meeting for organizing next year's agenda. On August 11th, their new board was convened for the summer board retreat, and they had a new member virtual meeting and greet. September 30th, they had a Core Seal, which is one of our wall covering companies, a health, safety, and welfare virtual CEU event. And then future events in October, the University of Memphis Speed Mentoring event will occur. October 21st is KnoxCon, which is in Knoxville, where we have about 60 vendors that come and show what was new that was presented in Chicago. And then October 27th, their East Tennessee Pumpkin Carving Contest, and they typically take those to Children's Hospital. November 6th will be the East Tennessee Mugshots and Martinis, and I cannot tell you anything about that. But on November 13th, they're going to have in Nashville a Strike Up design event. And then November 18th is a Belmont Speed Mentoring event as well. And there'll be more virtual CEUs in the coming months. But the main thing we wanted to tell you about is on October 14th, our Better Together committee is going to have another networking event, and everyone is invited, and you can register on our online platforms. And it's going to be at Fate La Force at 1414 3rd Avenue, Suite 101 in Nashville, Tennessee. And what we're trying to do is have a networking event with architects, engineers, and designers, and develop a community of communication about our organizations and our professions, and build more people to join our state board and registration. So are there any questions? Okay, that's my report.
Thank you, Susan. Good to hear from you.
Okay, thanks for letting me listen in today.
Thanks, Susan. I appreciate you. You did good stepping in there. Yeah, I couldn't tell. You got called at 6 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
considering I didn't find out till
Yeah.
3 hours this morning, not too bad. So
All right,
anyway,
good deal. Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
see, I'm on unmute.
Okay, so it looks like we're ready for then our grant presentations. For all of our deans that have joined us that are online, if you would, I'm going to work down, starting with architecture, school, interior design, and then engineering, since that's our bigger group. And so I'll do that. As I do that, when I call on you, if you could just raise your hand in the on your screen, and then our tech will unmute you, and then of course you'll want to make sure you unmute your side too. That way we can make sure that there won't be any interference with your presentation. And keep in mind, try to keep it about 3 to 5 minutes, and the board they have your proposal in front of them, so if you reference that, they can look at that. But unfortunately, we won't be able to do PowerPoint slides. So just if you want to hit the highlights, and we look forward to hearing from you. So without further ado, we'll start with UT Knoxville School of Architecture. Are they online? And if so, if you could just raise your hand and introduce yourself, and then you can take off. Okay. Let's try University of Memphis School of Architecture. Looks like we do have a hand raised there. So Dr. Hagee. We're going to mute you, and then once you can go ahead and mute your side as well, and then you can jump in. Just do a little mic check there. Dr. Hagee, are you good? It's good. Oh, it looks like you might be muted on your side. If you want to go ahead and click your side and then speak into the mic, and then we'll see if we can if we've got you. Oh,
Okay.
Yep, gotcha.
I think I've got it. Okay, wonderful. I don't really have anything to report. I just wanted to, of course, answer any questions you might have, but most of all, just thank the board for continuing to provide this opportunity for funding. It really is a significant benefit to our students, both our architecture and our interior architecture students, particularly through our lecture series, but also through other opportunities that we're able to provide in partnership with AIA Memphis and other professional organizations.
Thank you, Dr. Hagee. And for all of our members, but particularly our architect members, if you scroll on down, everything is, we'll say grants, and then it has, it denotes the university and what school, and there you'll see U of Memphis Architecture. That's their proposal. If there's anything that you wanted to discuss or ask Dr. Hagee why we had him on there. Again, we've thoroughly reviewed your proposal, and look forward to announcing awards here soon for our schools. Any questions from our architecture board? All right, hearing none, then I think we can move on to the next one. Thank you, Dr. Hagee. Thanks for taking time. I know it's for all of our deans that it's fall semester, so there's a lot going on, and we appreciate you taking time out for us today.
Certainly, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. I think we're ready for Belmont Architecture. Do we have a rep from Belmont Architecture on the line? If so, please raise your hand and we'll unmute you, and then you'll need to mute yourself on your side, and then we'll be good to go. Okay. Don't look like we have any, and we'll circle back and pick up any stragglers that we may have missed at the end, but we'll keep marching on then. UT Chattanooga Interior Design. Are you? Do we have a rep from UT Chattanooga Interior Design? Okay, looks like we do. Dr. Kendall, we're going to mute you, and then you'll have to mute yourself as well on your end. We have to do it on both sides to keep our connection secure. So if, once we do that, you go ahead and mute yourself, and then you'll be good to go. Oh, yeah. Okay. Go ahead and mute your side, and then you should be, our channel is open, so we'll just need you to mute your side, and then you can speak into the mic. Nothing. Or still don't have you unmuted there. See if you can check your options there, or click on that little mic there at the bottom. Nothing. Okay. All right. We'll come back and get you, Dr. Kendall, and we'll pick up. Let's see, MTSU Interior Design. Anybody from MTSU? All right, Dr. Kendall, looks like we'll try you again. I saw you raise your hand if you want to try unmute yourself. Okay. All right, let's keep on moving then. ETSU Interior Design. Dean Isham, that's very well. Okay, we've unmuted on our side. If you want to unmute your side, I think you'll be good to go. Sorry, we're just waiting. They're communicating with our two deans there. Yeah, Dr. Isham, if you could just click that unmute at the bottom of your screen there on options, see if that'll work for you. If you're running into difficulties, let us know. Gotcha. We'll try a couple more then, and if we run into that, then we may just we'll try to see if we can get a tech in here. But let's try a couple more then. Let's move on to Belmont Interior Design. Is there anyone from Belmont Interior Design? All right. UT Knoxville Engineering. All right, so we're running into a couple technical issues. So what we're going to do is, if it's okay with the chair, we're going to recess for about 10 minutes and see if we can iron that out. And for our deans, if you can hang on for a little bit, and Ms. Kendall, we'll just use you and a couple of others. Dr. Isham and Kendall, if you guys can hang on for a couple moments, and we're going to see if we can work through yours as sort of our test and get us back on track. All right, so 10 minutes. We'll take a quick recess, and we'll be back. Thank you. Okay, board, if we'll go ahead and reconvene then, and we'll just pick up where we left off, and then Ms. Kendall, hang with us, and then we'll pick up you next, and then work our way back. Okay.
Okay, my mic came on.
Oh, very good. All right, very well. All right, Dean Isham, go ahead and it's yours.
Yeah, we want to thank the board for these ongoing efforts. We're starting to see real benefits of this now. We're getting ready to graduate our largest class ever. As you can see from our proposal that
go ahead and identify the school too. As my apologies. The school as well. I'm sorry.
ETSU Interior Architecture.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
So yeah, we're getting ready to graduate our largest class to date, and then our junior class is 25 students that we've asked for scholarships for IDFX. So all the recruitment that this grant has had has really helped us grow, continue to grow we're up about 10% this year.
Good deal. It's nice to see that the industry really, it seems across the board has been growing, and that's been neat to see. They've been expanding and strong as ever, and it seems like ETSU is right in that same vein. We again thank you for submitting your package, and I suspect that we'll be announcing the rewards here soon. The committee did meet this morning, and I look forward to making an announcement here very soon. Did the board have anything that they want to say to Dean Isham?
Thank you, Dean, for doing such a good job with ETSU and increasing your enrollment. That's great. Good news. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you very much.
All right, Ms. Kendall, the floor is yours.
Hello, this is Catherine Kendall from UTC Interior Architecture and Design. We also wanted to thank you. Our program continues to grow. We actually have approximately 169 students enrolled within our program now. And as it grows, we're still trying to meet the needs of all students that we think have potential. So we're also focusing, whether it be giving back by lab fees, to try to retain those students that might not be able to afford an expensive program like a design program. With your help from last year, we actually had all of our seniors were better prepared for the NCIDQ IDFX. Of course, we're requiring all our seniors to register for it and take it in the spring. They also are required in the fall to take the WELL AP or the LEAD GA exam. 9 seniors passed the WELL AP or LEAD GA exam, and we actually had multiple students also pass the NCIDQ IDFX. So one of our focuses, as you saw in our proposal, is to again focus on these 2 not accreditations, but certifications that they can get as seniors. We're also finding that because things are changing in the field, I'm sure you saw this in the proposal, that while we still, for accreditation purposes, which we go under this spring, we have to still do manual drafting, but from what is needed in the field, we're finding that we're having to get them onto CAD a lot quicker. So that was the reasoning for asking for stuff about a retrofit for our manual drafting studio that was in there. And of course, our last thing would be we do a lot of experiential learning because of the very, very backgrounds of students that we get actually in. A lot of them have not had a lot of exposure to different things, so we try to get them out and in the field, whether it be on study tours, lighting workshops, going into study tours where we actually take them to see historic places, as well as into design firms and getting them into the wholesale showrooms. So typical places that they would use when they would actually get out in the field. So I really just want to thank you for the opportunity and your continued support of all the programs across the state, because it's really beneficial to what we're doing for these students in design.
Thank you, Dr. Kendall. Appreciate that. Any comments or questions from the board?
Catherine, thank you, excuse me, once again for doing such a great job, and the faculty there continuing on and growing the program. It's great news.
Thank you. We love what we do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hey, this is Rick Thompson from Chattanooga, and we really appreciate what you've done over the years as well. And your students, your graduates are really well prepared for the workplace environment. So keep up the good work, and thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to do one quick pass for the architecture and interior design schools. UT Knoxville Architecture and Design. Belmont, both architecture and interior design. And then MTSU interior design. Okay. And then at the very end, we'll open the floor to whoever might have just popped in that maybe hadn't spoken. So now we're going to move to the engineering schools. Oh, wait, we do have one. All right. What's that? Yeah, that's okay. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Muhammad, if you could unmute there.
Yeah, hello. I'm actually one of the engineering schools. Are you still doing the interior design?
We are. We just wrapped them up. So if you're here for engineering, you're okay. Well, we're going to get to all the schools here in a second. So hang on, and then we'll call your schools here pretty soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for logging in. All right. UT Knoxville Engineering.
Yes, this is Michael Berry. I'm a professor in electrical engineering and computer science. I also serve as a faculty fellow for academic and student affairs. So I'm representing Michael Danqua, the associate dean. We're grateful for the support of the board towards the vision of this engineering college making its way into the top 25% of public universities. And as mentioned in the proposal, from 2015 to 2024, we've seen over a 40% growth in enrollment and trying to meet the needs as a land grant for the engineering needs of the state. And the proposal is basically for funding to cover the FE exam and reimbursement for our students, to continue the support for a very large and growing Stone King Engineering Fundamentals program that all freshmen in the college go through, and also importantly to develop support for student well-being as we live in complex times. The needs for mental health issues and supporting our students through financial issues and concerns. We want to be there for them. Even though we're large, we want to make sure that students get the hands-on help that they need through our rigorous programs. So those are the three facets of the funding request from UT Knoxville College of Engineering, Dickel College of Engineering.
All right. You guys are hard at it then, and sounds like it must be difficult to find space for all those folks, but you're growing, and it seems like that's a good problem to have. We're seeing a lot of growth across the design professions, but to see that at that level that's incredible. Thank you for those details. Do we have anyone from the board that would like to respond or have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, then thank you, sir. I think
Thank you.
I'm ready for the next one then. Tennessee Tech Engineering. Anybody online from Tennessee Tech Engineering? Okay, we'll circle back then. UT Chattanooga Engineering.
Hey, I'm Abdul Karar, Associate Dean of College of Engineering and Computer Science at University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. So our proposal, it's three components. So of course it has the component for funding the student FE. These are students in civil, mechanical, and electrical mostly. We also have a request for equipment to fund a new lab in instrumentation and PLC. This comes from as a response to our industry advisors, and so they need to see our graduates having more training in PLCs and automation. It also comes, a lot of our workforce go into TVA, and TVA is in our advisory board. They're also, they're requiring more training on instrumentation and control. So we've developed a long-term plan for, including a focus area or concentration in automation and control. But at the first step, the first short-term solution, we're doing a 1 credit hour laboratory, and this part of the funds requested will go towards funding this laboratory. The final thing is that we have a senior design expo that we do. We're requesting some money just to go towards organizing this event. This is where the students showcase their projects, and we have in industry, local community, we have industry representatives, and we have visitors who will come in and see the innovation of our students. So this will cover the logistical requirements for this component. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Karar. I appreciate you piping in and giving us that update. And sounds like you're covering a lot of territory in your proposal. I appreciate you sort of touching the highlights. And does the board have anything in response to comments, questions? Okay. Hearing none then. Thank you, sir. I think we're ready for our next one then. University of Memphis Engineering. Do we have anybody from University of Memphis Engineering? Dr. Curie, are you on there? Okay, we'll come back to this one. Vanderbilt University Engineering. Dr. Pascal, are you online?
Yes, I am. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Glenn, for coming to serve as an observer for our ABET accreditation visit this week. Was glad you could come, and also I'm very glad to say that our Bachelor of Engineering programs all came through with flying colors. So that was exciting and quite the relief. Like everyone, I really want to thank the board for your past support. It's really made a difference, and indeed our accreditors were able to see our students engaged in activities that really enhance their classroom learning through being able to use the resources y'all provided. We have had in just 1 year a 10% increase in the enrollment in our engineering, not computer science programs, and indeed what I submitted in the proposal was, of course, because of the date, had the our pre-census enrollment numbers, but our census now shows us that we're up 10% in our engineering enrollment, which is hard for us because we are constrained by the number of beds in the first year commons. So good things, and as we see these increases, especially in mechanical, chemical, and somewhat in civil engineering, and definitely electrical and computer engineering, we saw a big uptick last year in students wanting to take the FE exam. So that is obviously a major focus of our proposal. And again, we're really grateful for that support. We have also asked for support for really the tools and resources to help our students do a variety of other things. We've got students in environmental engineering, which is a fairly new program for us, needing some tools and resources so they can study, for example, water quality. Lots of work for student hands-on learning in terms of machining and other types of tools, and related to different kinds of both student and professionally run maker spaces. And then also something that's been pretty popular is we've used some of the funding for field trips to take our students to generally places in Tennessee, but also some in Alabama, but to either see different industries or to participate in different types of engineering competitions. And so that's really the gist of our proposal. And y'all are making a big difference, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Pascal. Was there any comments or questions from the board?
Just one real quick. Cynthia, this is Alton Heathcote. I hope you're doing well.
Thank you. Likewise.
Good job. I think the last time I was there, I mentioned to y'all about asking for more. And you did a really good job, so congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously y'all, any input and guidance to go more, to go less, whatever your guidelines are, I'm grateful to know that.
Never go less. So very well done. Congratulations to you and your team.
And thank you for your hospitality too, for the ABET visit. That's sort of a side note, but I do appreciate you mentioning that, and thank you for just clearing the way. And you guys were gracious and kind, and I was impressed by what I saw, and I'm not surprised that your accreditation would continue. And I really appreciate your focus and emphasis on some of the practical applications there. Your AI integration, interdisciplinary cooperation with other disciplines, your commercialization focus and research. So you guys are really leaning into really making that practical and staying ahead of what's coming down the pike. So I really appreciate that, and that was neat to see.
Thank you. And for any members of the board, if you wish to come visit, you're always welcome. Just let me know.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. I think we're ready then for the looks like TSU Engineering, Tennessee State University Engineering. Is somebody on the line?
Yes, this is Dr. Lin Li, currently serve the interim dean in the College of Engineering, Tennessee State University, and we are trying to give you updating. And we're so appreciative for the board support. In the last year, we have financial issue entire campus wide, so our student enrollment is declined. So this is but we believe once we got a new President Tucker on the board, and we will turn around, and the number will go up. So but currently all the engineering professor, we are really emphasize project-based learning. So based on the funding support, and we have participated a lot of student competition, especially concrete canoe. We are really appreciate the Lipscomb and Vanderbilt here, and both university really neighbor to us. Give us a lot of support, but we do send the student mechanical engineering for the bike competitions, AEI competitions. So that is really help the student open eye, and they apply their knowledge to their learning. And also the new engineer building approved by the state building commission, and so that's $60 million for 70,000 square feet. For the next year, 2025, 2026, the proposal we just adding one thing is FE, more FE review package, because in the past, we probably only request about $1,000, $2,000, but right now we have to increase into $7,500 because that is we want more students be really got to practice for the FE, prepare for the FE exam. So we also ask for one of the equipment for the ABET kind of accreditation requirement for mechanical engineer. So that's all we have. Thanks again, everyone.
Okay. Very good. Looks like you've got a pretty good focus on a lot. You're spending the majority of it on your students, and then even by extension, your equipment, though, for which they'll be taking advantage of. So that's good to see, and appreciate that. Do we have any comments or questions from our board? All right, and congratulations on your new building too. That'll be neat to see that downtown. I mean, we're just within a rock's throw from you, so that's neat to see. I'm glad to hear that. All right,
thanks everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. We appreciate that. Let's see who we got next then. ETSU Engineering. Yeah, I'm gonna do them next. I'm gonna do them last. And by the way, I'm just Elton. He perceived rightly that I'm working down the list, but Christian Brothers, he's in a meeting, so he won't be available till 11. So I'm going to do him last. But so we'll just skip him and come back. But ETSU, the mic is yours if you're available.
Hey, my name is Mohammed Moinuddin. I'm a professor and program director for our general engineering program. I want to thank the board for your continuous support for our engineering program. Our program is growing. Last year, we started a new program at ETSU, our mechatronics program, and there are more programs are in the planning. We envisioning the growth. ETSU recently submitted a proposal for new engineering building to the state. Hopefully, we are optimistic that it's get approved. We have two activity on our proposal, and that based on our last year success. First one is the FE exam scholarship. To prepare for our general engineering program, FE is a graduation requirement. So we tried several different ways to help support our students. But we didn't get that success. So last year we started more formal, giving student a formal FE review course. We created a 1-credit course, and then all 10 seniors enroll in, even though it's an optional outside 128 credit hour. And then all those 10 students was qualified for the scholarship, and 10 took the exam. 8 passed, so we are really, really happy. We're thinking that the course is the way it is designed and delivered, it is working, and we are hoping to offer the course again. We have 10 more seniors in the program right now. So support is requested for the FE exam reimbursement and also the course material. Second item is for the recruitment and retention. we offer a summer camp for high school student. We started small, but last year we extended from 1 week to 3 weeks. 2 other departments joined forces, so we had like 3 department students spending 1 week in each department. Engineering was one of those. This year, 3 more departments joined forces, so we have now 6 departments and 2 track. The other 3 departments that joined forces are health sciences. So we have now an engineering track and health science track. More than, I think about 35 students was on the summer camp. We introduced them with the engineering, different programs that we offer during our engineering week. They really have fun. We collect some data at the end of the week, and it shows that more than 80% students, they're more inclined to studying engineering. So, I mean, we are grateful for all the support that we're getting from the board to get student engaged and for the engineering, and also success we are seeing through the FE lessons year. Thank you. If anybody have any question, I'm happy to answer.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Moen. Anybody have any questions for Dr. Moen there at ETSU Engineering? All right. All right. Thank you very much. I think we're ready to move on to the next one then. MTSU Engineering. MTSU Engineering there. Dr. Bedekar. Okay. We'll move on to the next then. UT Martin Engineering. UT Martin, okay. Lipscomb Engineering.
Good morning. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is David Elrod, Dean of the Raymond B. Jones College of Engineering here at Lipscomb. Just want to thank the board for the continuing support towards licensure and professionalism for all the schools here at Lipscomb. Your support has helped to fund 31 of our students, all of our graduating seniors, to take the FE exam, and the funds have covered the FE prep software to help them prepare, and reimbursement for the actual cost of the exam. It's also helped to fund their involvement in professional societies with the ASME and ASCE and IEEE for all 3 of our ABET accredited programs. It's covered in part subsidy of some of the membership dues, participation in conferences, and experiential learning with participation in the student competitions for Baja, for Concrete Canoe, for IEEE Robotics, and for Steel Bridge, and just appreciate that. Those are all great experiences for our students. And then a small part has helped to fund consumables for our labs, but y'all's support has just, like with other schools, made a big difference, and it's greatly appreciated. Thanks so much.
Any questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing none, then I think, thank you, Dr. Elrod. Thank you for that presentation and for your proposal. And we look forward to being in touch with each of our deans here shortly thereafter. All right. Looks like we're ready for Union University Engineering. Is Union University there? Okay. Let's try Christian Brothers University Engineering. All right. Yeah, not quite 11 o'clock. All right, so let's do just open floor. Anybody that we may have missed that, if you would like to give your presentation, then the floor is yours. Okay. Yeah, he knew he may or may not make it, so you've got his proposals, and if he pops in later, then we'll reconvene, take a moment, and give him the courtesy of hearing from him if he pops in then. Okay, thank you, deans. There's nothing left for this portion of the agenda for Grant's presentation, so I think at this point we are ready to move on in our agenda. Director's report. Let me give you a quick budget report, and it'll be very quick since you don't have a budget in front of you. And so During our last review, we reviewed financial reporting through end of fiscal year 25. We would normally have 2 more months of record, so typically we'd be looking at July and August at this point. But the trending analysis for fiscal year 26, which is what we're in right now, and reserve balance, prior reserve balance hasn't closed out yet and been made available. So until that happens, that's probably going to happen later this month. So probably as soon as I get out of this meeting, you know how that goes, right? There'll be something in my inbox, but we'll go over all of it at the next meeting. So we'll have current numbers in. We'll have the reserve close out for fiscal 25, and then we'll have, so that report will be a little bit longer because we'll be covering the reserves in December, and we'll be covering 4 months of record instead of 2, but nonetheless, we'll work through it there when we get there. But we're in good stead, as you'll recall, but if not, I'll freshen your memory there. We did close out fiscal year 25, and you'll have the numbers, but roughly 346 in surplus, 346,000, so it's pretty good. And then resulting in a total reserve at about 4 million, 4.4 million to be exact, somewhere in that range. But the exact numbers, we'll have that at our next meeting. But I just want to give you a snapshot, high level, at what we're looking at. So nothing that's not actionable anyway, but until then, you're welcome to send forward any questions or concerns, comments that you may have, and then I'll be happy to address those. So the next thing then is our slate of meetings. As we're wrapping up, or soon to, we'll wrap up conference season. You know, we have typically in the spring, we have one round, and then we have another round in the fall, and CIDQ is going to close us out in December. And then that'll be it. But as a result of your meetings, you know where you're going, typically, maybe not the exact dates, but this is a good opportunity to get reports on those we haven't heard from yet, those that attended NCWS, I believe NCARB, maybe, no, you guys already gave your report last time, didn't you? Yeah. So we'll do those conference updates those soon, but we can go ahead and approve travel for the 2026 NCWS, NCARB, NCLARB meetings. So that's the point of that agenda item. And I think unless there's any debate, we could just do it as one panel, just across the board, approve travel for all 3. Just because we can do that collectively, because we can send each of our members. So anyone that wants to go, instead of naming them, we'll just do that. And we can sort of sidebar, decide who's state funded and who is association funded. That's no problem. That's easy for the architects because they rotate. It's a little bit difficult for you guys since we have, typically 3 funded positions and 3 unfunded. So then we just have to be a little bit more strategic about that. Typically, those where there's a cost savings, we would probably state fund that, and where there would be more of an expense we'd want, or if somebody is, serving on a committee and they're a sure thing or something, then we'd want them to be NCWS funded. That's typically how that would work. So we'll be strategic about that, but just the approved slate or travel across the board for each design specific attendance for all of our members, for members to attend their both spring and their fall conferences for NCWS, NCARB, CLARB, and honestly CIDQ too, if you'll permit that. There's no reason why we couldn't put them on this slate as well. So just and then we'll work out the details as we go throughout the year. So if I may, first of all, I'll need a motion to add CIDQ to the list, and since it's not on the agenda, and then
So moved to
Thank you,
add
sir.
CIDQ.
Blair Parker, a motion to add CIDQ for travel spring and fall.
Second.
Got a second from Frank Waxter. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none then. Let's move on and just do a complete slate then. So we'll just need a motion to approve membership travel in those design professions for 2026 for NCWS, NCARB, CLARB, and CIDQ. And that would be spring and fall, both that seasonal travel.
Yeah, on the NCARB, there is potential education committee. It's regional, but it's through NCARB. We might want to add that to our approved travel in the event someone goes.
Yeah, let's do that. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it too, let's just get ASLA. I'm trying to be as efficient as we possibly can. So if we can just do a motion to add CIDQ, ASLA, and travel to include the Education or Practitioners Conference, because that's sort of a, yep, for NCARB. So we'll just need another motion in that regard.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Thompson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second from Frank Wagster. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none. That was added to the agenda. Now we need one for the slate for approval. So do we have a motion in that regard for travel for annual meetings for all the associations to include the Educationers, Practitioners Conference? Got a motion from Dr. Ash. Do we have a second? Got a second from Mr. Tibbs. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, hearing none, then that's approved. Very well. Okay. That just seems like a lot easier, because otherwise each year we're kind of, hitting and missing. And so if we can just one slate, it's end of the year, it's just a good time to do it then. All right. Conference updates. And so we do have some conference updates. We've got NCWS went to a conference shortly after our last meeting. So I'll just open the floor for you guys to, unpack what you have there, and then we'll hit Mr. Parker after that.
I guess I'll start. There's quite a few things I think that are kind of overlap with a lot of other organizations as well. I-Corps is producing their incidental practice guidelines. I saw that was in the Blair's report from the ASLA also. That should be coming out very soon. I said it was going to come out this fall. Just provide a good guideline for where practices overlap and who should be responsible for what type of work. NCS issued a position statement on artificial intelligence, which mirrors what we've talked about in our meetings here before, that still the design professional is responsible for the product, period, end of discussion, no matter how it's prepared. So that was issued. There are several states that are experiencing the same thing that we are, with people working with fake licenses and that sort of thing. A lot of people mentioned Upwork being a problem, as we've experienced that so far as well. And it's across the country. It's not just something that's happened here in our state. So it's good. Looks like it's going to continue to be a problem to deal with as we go on. There was also a template that was produced by one of the committees for identifying practice experience for people as they get ready to take their FE exams. That, again, mirrors our law very, very closely. So they're going to be putting out a document, make it available to all the member boards to kind of use as a guideline as people going through viewing PE applications. There was also just a motion that was passed to eliminate the general education requirements from the model law. So it still says what you have to have from the technical side, with the general education requirements vary so much from state to state, and I think that they kind of saw the number that was in the model law was kind of arbitrary, so they just said let's just eliminate that altogether. So that was deleted. There was a lot of discussion about technology degree pathways for licensure. I think that discussion is going to continue. It looks like that is gaining a lot more momentum. It's something that we're probably going to have to be dealing with, in the not too distant future as well. And there's also going to be an effort coming forward from NCES to encourage licensure of university professors, because that's, of course, where the students are hearing, where how important licensure is. That's the first place they're hearing it from, are those professors in college. And we have seeing a trend across the country of a lot of professors that are not licensed, and it seems to be growing. And so they're going to try to reverse that a little bit to provide some encouragement to professors to go ahead and get licensed as well, and provide that first input to the students. So that's, I don't know if anybody else has anything else.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I always hate to follow Collins, over there. I mean, he's, and I get nervous, when I'm after him after the agenda. So I have to work on my dance moves or something, to.
I was thinking that might have been a question for our engineering. The schools is that give us all this information on how many of your professors are licensed would have been a good question, I think.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's becoming a bigger issue all the time. I know one of the state universities that recently hired a new department head that is not licensed, and the dean of the college of engineering is not licensed, both at that school. And, even in the civil engineering departments at that school, there's only just 2 or 3 of the, 15 or so professors that are licensed engineers. So others are doing a great job. I know that UT Knoxville is doing a really good job with that. A lot of their professors are licensed, and they seem to put a lot of emphasis in that. I think Martin is doing a pretty good job with that, but some of the other schools are not doing a very good job with that.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate the update. Looks like then we are ready for CLARB, and then Mr. Parker will give that one. And you do have his notes here. And just so you know, guys, that's the new standard. Okay, so I would, some of you, I would just drop the class. You know what I mean?
And they say engineers are detailed.
You should have seen it in color. Well, let's write a song on that. But yeah, he had slides in from there, and I appreciate you giving us just a real thorough update, and all of you guys that do that, especially for some of us that can't be there or, for whatever reason. So thank you for the update. Go ahead.
Well, I don't like starting with an apology, so I will not. So, I attended the CLARB meeting in Lexington, Kentucky, which was an interesting place to have a meeting, and yet a really good place to have a meeting. But like with previous CLARB meetings, there's a lot of things discussed that I'm very interested in. And the discussion, James, that you mentioned of how many professors are licensed, that was one of those things that came up. And there is a push on the landscape architectural side to make that change, into the universities. This report, there's a lot in this report, and there's a lot more that I wanted to put in here. I thought, I cannot do that. But it shows you that I really am interested in what's going on. But I do want to make a few comments, and then you can read the rest. I think it's self-explanatory. The breakdown of CLARB 56 member boards, it's interesting that Tennessee stands out alone of our 4 professions that we have. I do believe and there are 30 boards that are strictly landscape architecture, and this folds into the conversation of when licensure or when a group comes in and really challenges licensure in our design professions. When you're a standalone, you may be an easier target than when you're a larger group, together. And that was an interesting conversation, but we are the only ones with our 4 professions. Someone made the comment that, I think, Frank, you made the comment that what we discussed here is much like what you hear in NCARB and what's going on with the other professions as well. The Alliance for Responsible Professional Licensing, they have a lot of interesting statistics, and I think that's on the second page, but I think that's something we need to have in our back pocket. I do believe that as we are structured, everything that I heard at CLARB regarding this, it's like, wow, we have our act together here. I mean, we're doing some good things here. And I mentioned to somebody that we have an excess of funds and we give it back to the schools, and they were like, you mean it doesn't go into the general, and we don't want to say this out loud, but had this conversation, but it really is. It's a wonderful thing that we do here in our Tennessee A&E board. Defunding of the professions of the licensing in different states. Florida is one that stood out, that there was a bill that failed. It failed because it ran out of time, I understand. So they're assuming it will come back up, but it was to eliminate all of the design professions, all of us, all of the design professions, unlike just targeting one profession. But I found that was interesting, and nobody really knows why. Nobody could answer exactly why that was the case. I-Corps is another organization that is made up of our 4 organizations, if you will. That was an interesting tidbit, and I have some more information tucked in there. But this is where we talk about overlap of our professions, overlap of the services we provide. And you'll see on page 4, there's just a listing of the steering committee, and it shows you've got architecture, engineering, interior design, landscape, architecture, and survey, all as a group who are putting together this huge document that is to define what our professions do and where the overlap is. So I think it's going to be interesting to see when that's released. It'll be interesting to read it and see what's in there. Oh gosh. Well, needless to say, I really had an interesting meeting. I learned a lot. I will be coming back to the Landscape Architecture Committee with a comparison of what the CLARB's uniform standard is that they'd love for all the jurisdictions to pass, but compared the uniform standard to what we require for licensure in Tennessee. And that'll start a discussion of whether or not we want to go down this road or not. But anyway, that's upcoming in December and later on. But just wanted to share this with you. There's a bunch more information here. Thank you for letting me go. It was very beneficial.
All right.
I do have
yeah.
one question. On your education pathways breakdown that you've got here, and I think everybody's dealing with this, whether they want to or not. But is there any discussion with CLARB to make any changes to the LARE? To the exam?
They change the LARE all the time. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Let me see how to say this. To require less than they are now.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, and I will tell you that I put a note in here that Brandon Doss, who's from Memphis, is on a test writing committee. We have 4 sections to the LARE, and he's chairman of one of those sections. And just discussions with him is that no, they're making it just as rigorous as it has been, and I don't think that the educational pathways is going to lessen the requirements in that exam. Did that answer your question?
I'm not sure it's totally aimed at the education pathways, but it seems like the NCARB, they're wanting to say that certain, I'm going to say, strengths of the ARE are better served through education or through experience. And so it might affect how the ARE is written. Mm-hmm. Is there any discussion of things like that?
I did not hear any of that discussion.
Okay.
No.
I don't agree with what they're talking about.
That's the end of my report.
That's my personal opinion.
All right, thank you, all of you that represent us throughout the jurisdictions and specifically Tennessee. But there's a lot of committees that you serve on and leadership roles as well. Ms. Doss included, recently to the board of directors there at CIDQ. It's just you're very busy, and for you to carve out time to do that as well, to represent us, but also to be a voice and steering the industry through these sort of choppy waters is helpful. So I thank you for that service to us and in ways that we don't even often see. A lot of folks, I think, hearing or maybe not attend a conference assumes that may have assumptions one we're out and then not fully comprehend the work and the preparation and after action that goes in leading up to, through, and after something like that. So thank you for your work in that regard. All right, Ms. Cates is here, I believe. She's still okay. If you want to approach we'll pull an audible and give and honor her time and allow her to come to the podium.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ashley Cates. I'm Executive Vice President of AIA Tennessee. Today, I just wanted to give you a quick update on the conference that we held this past August. That's why I was not at the last meeting. It was in Nashville. We had a wonderful time at the Embassy Suites downtown, where we gave about 31 hours of learning units. Of 29 of those were HSW. So it's a great opportunity for our members to come and get learning credits while socializing and networking. So we had probably about 265 attendees there for that. And we had our design awards, and we honored our newly licensed architects at the meeting. So we appreciate staff at the licensing board helping us get that list because it's for the initial members that got their initial professional license within Tennessee. And it's always helpful to hear and work with you all. As far as moving forward, we are starting a new strategic plan in next year. So we're going to kick off with a leadership retreat soon next month to take a look at the different objectives that we have for the upcoming 3 years. And I can give you more information on that. Of course, pipeline and developing a pipeline for the profession is of top of mind and part of that conversation. So I'm excited to tell you a little bit more when they decide what they want to do with it. Additionally, legislative session's going to be upon us really soon, and so our Government Relations Committee is coming back around to see what might be in the pipeline for bills the upcoming session. Nothing major that we see, always looking for any type of legislation that might impose upon the profession and licensure matters, as well as codes. So we'll have more information for you at the next meeting. Additionally, we'll have our Down the Hill next year. We are going to plan to do it similar to the way we did it this past year, where we're going to do a legislative breakfast, have blueprints and bagels for our legislators, which was a hit this past year. And we actually ended up printing out 3D models of the state capitol and giving them to all the legislators. And recrafting our messaging to not talk about the value of architects, but actually the essential role of architects. So kind of crafting our message to make sure of the understanding of not value, but like, yes, we're essential, and we're vital to design and construction. So that was a hit last year. We're gonna look at a different model this year to see what we can print out for the legislators. Other than that, I did have Casey Anderson ask me to send, she is in San Diego right now, and she asked me just to report on her, the ACEC side of things, so that's okay. Vertical Construction Forum is November 10th from 10 to 4 at the Four Seasons. The agenda is not ready yet. Hopefully you'll get it in the next week. And we'll be also promoting that to our members as well for the vertical construction. And then the Engineering Excellence Awards will be held November 10th at the Four Seasons. So I'm sure she will get some information to you about it. And then I'm not sure, but if Nathan Ridley had told you. Okay. Oh no. Well, I don't want to take his thunder away, but Charles Snyder will be taking Nathan's place from Bradley Law Firm, and so give you an update on that. And Nathan's at the beach right now. Yeah, so I think he is on his way to retirement. So I didn't know if you knew that or not, and I hated it. Okay, just spill the beans. So that's all I have right now, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Get that close cooperation demonstrated. I mean, between the professions, Casey sending a report via Ashley Kate. So, all right, very cool. All right. Thank you, Ashley. I think we are ready then for the legal section. So the legal case report.
Good morning, everyone. The first case involves a professional engineer, case number 2025-015731. These first two cases involve the same respondent. Both cases involve discipline in other states. On this first case number, the respondent timely self-reported disciplinary action taken by the New Mexico Board, in which he was ordered to pay a civil penalty of $500. The previous disciplinary actions by other states, they were not actions reportable under our rules. Therefore, I am recommending that we close this case with a letter of caution. And I don't know if we want to jump into the second, some complaint.
We can kind of, I told Scott, we can sort of handle it any way you want to. Instead of, in lieu of reading word for word, because you guys do a pretty good job, especially the design professions of your specific discipline of getting in the meat of that. He was just going to read the case number, sort of give you a brief summary, and the recommendation, and then field whatever questions or comments that you may have. And then if you feel the need to read it out, that's fine too. But the legal reports is a part of the record anyway in the minutes, so we don't have to read it. We can, but we don't have to. So it's any way you want to do that. We've been doing that a little bit with Land Surveyor, and that seems to be helpful because they have some really long ones as well that you can imagine represents with technical aspects, so we just like yours. So.
I would like to ask a quick question. And I asked Katie this, and looking through the information, it looks like he's received letters of caution before, maybe 2 or 3 times.
That is correct. I believe in 2022, 23, and in 2024.
So apparently, letters of caution really aren't a great incentive for this individual?
Yes, I understand your point. However, none of the disciplinary actions taken by the other states were reportable.
In Tennessee?
Yes.
They clearly were in the other states, but not in Tennessee.
Yes.
Except on renewal. That's kind of what the letter of caution is alluding to, is like, we got you on the radar, you missed the question on the renewal.
Okay.
Now you're fair. Now you're.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Registrants are only required to report revocations, suspensions, or voluntary surrenders, except when they're filling out their renewal application.
Yeah, I understand. I'd defer and acknowledge and, I guess, recommend Eddie's recommendation.
Send another letter of caution.
Well, and if it was all letter of caution for the same exact thing, then that's a sort of a different animal. But different things in the weight of each of those has to be weighed out, and it sounds like Mr. Jett's done that. Thank you all.
But just the fact that he's gotten several is enough for me. I mean, that means he's sort of out there on the edge of practice. That you get one, that should be enough.
Well, I will say that most of the disciplinary actions by other states are reciprocal in nature, all go back to a 2016 violation by the Missouri Board. So it's just a cascading effect.
Blair, do you have any burning thoughts? Or I just saw your mic on. I didn't know what was going on. It's all right. All right. So we have, I guess we'll just need a motion in that regard. We can either accept council's recommendation or if there's any variation in there or questions.
I move we approve the recommendations.
Got a motion from Mr. Waxer to accept council's recommendation. Do we have a second? Got a second from Mr. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, then that one's passed. Thank you. Number 2.
Number 2, case number 2025-038-721. This is the same respondent as in the first case. However, this involves a disciplinary action taken by the Wisconsin Board, in which the respondent did timely report that to Tennessee. The Wisconsin Board only reprimanded the respondent. Therefore, same recommendation as the first one, that we close with a letter of caution.
I move we approve the recommendation.
Motion from Mr. Wagster. Do we have a second? Got a second from Mr. Tibbs. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none then, the council's recommendation is passed, and we're ready for number 3.
Number 3, the case number is 2025-031-711. This case involves a professional engineer. The complaint alleges that the respondent signed and stamped house plans that were prepared by the complainant. The complainant provided a copy of those plans, which included a set of 10 drawings, which were signed and stamped by the respondent. The respondent claims that the homeowner assured him that the plans were owned by the homeowner and that he only stamped them for structural adequacy. When he or she did stamp those plans, the respondent did not include the date as required, and also the signature appeared to be identical, which indicates that some form of a stamp was used and not the original signature. Also, the respondent confirmed that they are the owner and sole member of his or her company. However, that company is not registered as an engineering firm with the board. Neither is the complainant's, by the way. Therefore, the recommendation is to authorize formal charges in a settlement with a civil penalty in the total amount of $2,500, broken down as follows: $1,000 for affixing their signature and seal to plans prepared by others, an additional $1,000 for failing to superimpose their signature and date of signature across the seal on 10 drawings, and $500 for failing to file a disclosure form for their firm with the board. Also asking that the respondent take and pass the laws and rules examination. In addition, since the complainant themselves did not file a disclosure form, that we open a complaint against them for that violation.
I have a comment. It appears to me that the respondent signed or stamped, and he admits that he stamped 10 drawings in a set. Now, our normal fine for that is a fine per drawing. And since they've got 10 drawings, and I would recommend, this is blatant stamping drawings he hadn't looked at, looks like to me. And he even said it was for structural uses, which must be signed drawings. He should knowingly have been not signing. I'm going to recommend that we change the Part A of this fine to $500 per drawing for 10 drawings for $5,000. And I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Okay. So, and then we'll discuss afterwards. We'll just accept the motion, see if we have a second, and then we'll discuss afterwards in case
I'll
there's
second
some.
that motion.
All right, so we got a second then. And now for further discussion. So we're looking at $5,000 for the first part, $1,000, so $6,500, and $500 for the third. So $6,500 total penalty, to include also passing the laws and rules exam and opening up a complaint for the complainant. So with that, is there any further discussion?
One other thing that I would like to add to this that was disturbing to me is that the plans still had the logo and name of the original firm that prepared them on there. If the plans were originally sealed, which we don't know if they were or not by the original firm, those seals have been removed, and the only seal that was on the plan were for the respondent. So it made it appear as though that respondent worked for the other company when in fact he did not. So that was pretty disturbing situation for me. And the fact that he says he just stamped them for structural adequacy, there's nothing to indicate that. The plans were sealed, as though he was responsible for preparation of those entire sets of plans.
Question, so he did not prepare the plans?
That's what he said. He did not prepare the plans. He reviewed them.
Stamped the plans,
He said he
period.
reviewed them for structural adequacy and stamped them, certifying their structural adequacy. There's no indication that I saw in the plans that he had made any revisions to them. You know, there's no revision clouds or anything like that on the plans.
Did he have a note that said, "I've reviewed for structural
No.
adequacy"?
Nothing.
Well, follow up on that, then item B recommendation is that he didn't sign the stamp appropriately on 10 drawings. Right? So that's 10 more violations.
Yeah, and if we, and that's fine, we could do that if we go there, and obviously the legal let us know, you know, if we can open up that territory. But if we did, we would just have to dispatch the motion we have on the floor and then make a new motion. But either way, that's fine, that's just procedural stuff. But continue talking about that. If you decide to go that route, we'll just need to dispatch the first and make some adjustments or a friendly motion or whatever amendment.
I thought we had a motion.
We do have a motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Frank gave us a motion to 5,000 for Part A, and then Blair seconded.
Yeah.
And so we're in discussion phase right now. And if we wanted to add Part B, I mean, we could. We'd still have to deal with that first emotion. We'd either have to withdraw a motion or amend it. You know, the folks that made them that motion. But either way, it's fine. We can do that. Just we'll let you know.
Well, I would think since we haven't made a motion on the recommendation itself, a second motion to revise B would be appropriate.
Okay.
As a friendly amendment to the motion.
Okay.
If
Very well.
we have
We're
those.
just revising.
I mean, this is
recommendation.
obvious, just plan stamping.
Yeah.
And not even done properly.
Yeah,
Plan
it
stamping.
admits to it.
Yeah, so we have we have 10 stamps that were incorrect and they were applied. So that's, in violation, so if we include B under the same amount that you recommended on for A.
Yeah. Probably the fastest way to do that would just, Frank, if you would just withdraw your original motion and enter in a new motion, and then we would be good to go. We could proceed forward with that.
If that's fine with you.
Okay. Starting out, I will rescind the motion that I made.
Okay.
And I
Very
guess
well.
we have to rescind the second.
Yeah, yeah. And then you're going to do as well then, Mr. Parker, Ben? All right, very well.
Okay, now, I would like a motion that we revise Part A to be $5,000 based on $500 per drawing for 10 drawings. And I recommend that I move that we revise Part B in a similar manner at $500 per drawing for $5,000. And that, again, that's for 10 drawings.
All right, so we've got a new motion on the floor then for 10,500 total, 5,000 Part A, 5,000 Part B, and then, of course, the 500 for the Part C. So we got a motion from Frank Wagster. Do we have a second?
I make a second to the motion.
We got a second from Rick Thompson. Now for further discussion. If there is no further discussion, we can vote. That's fine too. Just want to hang out there just in case we weren't done talking about it. Are we good? All right. So we'll move to vote then. We've got a motion from Wagster and we got a second from Thompson for $10,500 total, $5,000 for A, $5,000 B, $500 C. 2, requiring response to take and pass the laws and rules exam, and then 3, open a complaint against the complainant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, then that is passed. I think we're ready for number 4.
Just to clarify, we are opening a complaint against the.
Correct.
Okay.
Number 4, Case number is 2025-037-371. This case involves a professional engineer who's licensed in multiple states and has a disciplinary history in at least 8 other states. When the respondent applied for renewal in Tennessee earlier this year, they claimed that they had not been disciplined by any other states in the past 2 years. However, since this board issued a letter of caution in April of 2024, the respondent has failed to report the revocation of surrender that occurred in 3 other states. In September of last year, the North Carolina board found that the respondent had submitted false information on their license renewal form. The aggravating factor in this case is that the respondent was previously issued a letter of caution last year advising of the reporting requirements for disciplinary actions in other states. The legal recommendation is to authorize a civil penalty in the total amount of $1,500, which is $500 for each action in which he failed to report the revocation or suspension of his license in the other jurisdiction, and to also discuss the revocation or suspension based upon several grounds. The first one is being found guilty by the North Carolina board for submitting false information on his license renewal application. The second ground is for violating rules adopted by the board, which would include the failure to report the disciplinary actions taken by the other states, and for also for having their license suspended, revoked by another state.
Just, if you don't mind, Scott, a couple of points of clarification on that. The Oklahoma, I guess, action that was taken against him, part of that had to do with what happened in other states, but part of it was the fact that he specifically told the licensing board that he was not working for a designated firm in that state, and then proceeded to seal and sign drawings on that firm's title block. And they did not have a certificate of authorization to practice in the state of Oklahoma. So this individual, and if you review the case file and you look at the Oklahoma findings and you look at the Minnesota findings and you look at the California findings, there's a significant history of incompetent practice. And I do agree that based on our laws and rules, you know, there are 3 offenses specific to this case, and I agree with, obviously you and I have talked about this, and $1,500 is not unreasonable, but I am concerned about this particular individual continuing to have a license in the state of Tennessee based on the history of events that have occurred in all of these other states. One in particular has to do with the Minnesota finding. This individual is domiciled in California, and he performed a structural analysis for the attachment of solar panels to a roof in Minnesota, with it never visited the site, didn't have plans for the home that was on, made certain assumptions that turned out to be incorrect, and obviously the homeowners had significant problems. I think they're the ones that maybe filed the complaint initially in Minnesota. So there is history of a history of incompetent practice.
I agree. I just have in my notes that his license was revoked, but stayed for performing substandard work, and that was the Minnesota case.
That was, and actually California took action and stayed it for 35 months, I think, to monitor everything that he does for that period of time. But he was found to be practicing with incompetence. And there's there are a lot of details about that California finding and the Minnesota issue, but then the very fact that this individual chose to specifically mislead the Oklahoma board when he was asked if he were practicing under that the other firms, the Oklahoma firms, title block, and him saying he wrote a letter back to them saying no, he absolutely was not, never intended to, and if in the event he elected to practice in Oklahoma, then he would file a certificate of authorization under his own name, and then to go forward and to perform work in Oklahoma and use that firm's title block is pretty egregious to me. And I would, again, I clearly understand the significance of revocation. And I know that the other states, including North Carolina, I think also Washington, the District of Columbia now has taken similar actions, and the other states involved in this have followed California's lead and stayed it until California makes a final decision on that. But I don't think that relieves us from the responsibility associated with ensuring competent practice in the state of Tennessee. And I would really appreciate the other board members' ideas, thoughts.
I guess my only concern, I don't know if we can put him on a watch or something, but as far as what he's violated in Tennessee, I think we can only go about what has happened. I mean, and it seems like the other states have acted appropriately to the disciplinary action, and obviously we need to be aware of what he might, do in here, but I don't think we can penalize him.
I agree. I think my recommendation was going to be a probation, and that he specifically report to this board any project that he performs services on in Tennessee for a period of maybe 2 years.
Yeah, my question was going to be, if we did probation, what would be the terms of that he would have to fulfill in order to get off of probation for us?
Yes, a member of this board would need to review. Just the same thing we do with other people in the same situation. We would review the work or the Department of Commerce and Insurance would find a way to review the work to determine whether or not it was in fact competently performed.
So I have a question. So the boards voted to revoke his license, and then he went through a legal process to get it stayed. Is that a assumption?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So in California, in Minnesota, his license was revoked, and even North Carolina, but stayed. Is that he went through a legal process, and that process determined, no, we're going to hold for a while. So how do those actions is his license actually revoked? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, he actually had there were two findings in California, I think, Scott. One of them was that it was an incompetent practice. The other one was that he was aiding and abetting an unlicensed engineer in the practice of civil engineering. He was working through another firm.
Okay. But in those 3 states, since it stayed, is he still practicing in those 3 states today? Is there any state where he's banned from practicing?
I have not verified that the stay has been removed. I can only assume that he is still able to practice in those states.
Okay.
I know he was placed on probation in the District of Columbia for the same length of time as California.
I guess I'm
Mr.
just
Heathcote
trying
may
to
have a
make
better memory than I do on that.
I'm trying to make sense of the event. It says revoked, but I'm assuming he went through a legal process that went in his favor and said, we're going to pause. Isn't that what stayed means? We're going to pause, let you practice under probation.
I can look up these individually, but my recollection is he signed some type of an agreed order in most of these in which that was the agreement.
Okay.
I think Missouri had taken a similar action.
Oh, he surrendered his license.
They voted to have him surrender his license for 5 years.
It does appear that stayed was sort of their form of probation, you know what I mean? Like it's revoked pending this, but stayed pending that you complete these terms, you know what I mean? And for which if you don't, then you are revoked. It's not like an active state of revocation or suspension, to your point.
Yeah, but I guess that license surrendered really triggers our reportable offenses. I guess that's the question in the end is, does the revocation officially trigger things on our end that?
And we don't, I mean, you know, obviously legal's here, they can straighten out, you know, however, what I'm about to bungle, I hope not. But what I'm thinking is, we don't have like a true probation, you know, and we've talked about this before. You know, you have a license or you don't. Now, probation meaning we can evaluate your work and revisit, you know, or sort of represent or something, subject that whatever terms, but typically, you know, we don't typically have like sort of a sub-license, you know what I mean? Like we don't have, you know, we don't limit your scope. You've got a license or you don't, and you have discipline. That's a separate sort of a thing.
So we could either assign a probation or just revoke the license until 2029, until all this does.
Yeah, it just depends what you mean by like probation. What is that, you know, what would that entail? Like,
yeah, that's what, kind of what you were asking. What does that look like?
I have a question about that too. So what if we said we're going to monitor his work for?
if you can go ahead and get on the mic. Sorry, Jeff.
Nothing. Oh, there it is. So my question was, what happens if we say, okay, we're going to monitor your work for 2 years, but for 2 years he doesn't do anything in Tennessee, so there's nothing for us to check. What would happen?
Well, this assumes that his license will still be intact in Tennessee. He'll pay a fine. The fine, if the board votes to do this, he'll pay the fine of $1,500 for failure to disclosing in his application for renewal that he had received had failures in other states. He just ignored that, failed to report it to the state of Tennessee. We can fine him for that. But given the severity of what was in California, Minnesota, Missouri, and the demonstration of his just him basically ignoring what in Oklahoma, the fact that the board asked him, are you performing services for this under the banner of this firm? And if so, they need a certificate of authorization because they don't have one. He said, no, I have no intentions of doing it under that firm, and then actually doing it under that firm. Just a demonstrated history of just a disregard for the law. I think we have a duty and responsibility to monitor more closely. We may not be able to penalize him because those actions were taken by other states and we're limited by that, but I do think that if this person intends to practice in Tennessee, that we should be responsible and at least review his work, since he's demonstrated in other states that he will take license to do things outside the normal practice of with competence.
Yeah, my question is related to, what if he says, oh, well, I'm just not going to do anything in Tennessee for 2 years? Let's say we say for 2-year period, and so there's nothing to actually review. So what would we do?
If he's doing that, one way we'd hold him to that, he'd surrender his license. That's the only way you could verify that he's, because, I've had folks tell me, I want a license, but I'm not really going to practice to the fullest scope, right? So we're good. And I'm like, no, because I give you a license, you go do whatever you want within that scope, So we're not doing the bait and switch, And so if he was to do something like, hey, I'm not going to do anything for Tennessee for the next 2 years, that's a surrender of his license, and he can reapply at a certain date if the board wanted to do that. You could. A good question. Yep.
I just didn't know if maybe a suspension made more sense for a period of time. Yeah. This is one step below totally revoking the license, right? To say it's suspended for a period of time.
Yeah, and he's when I believe was expiring, looks like 2027. So January 31st, 2027. So he doesn't have a whole lot on there. You're looking at, let's say you did a 6 months, 1 year suspension, you're looking at about 3 or 4 months on his license, So, I mean, yeah, you could do that, and but whatever you want to do, there's several options there. So I guess it just depends on what you want to do. Like, do you want him to not have a license, and for what period, or let him keep his license, and then by monitoring just submit work, and then open up another complaint so we can dispatch this complaint? How do you want to?
Well, since he hasn't performed work in Tennessee for which a complaint has been filed, and we don't have any history other than what other states have filed, it would be difficult to suspend his license, I think. But I do think we should be able to put him on a probationary period where we get the opportunity to review his work if he does practice in Tennessee. And if his license is up for renewal in 27, that gives us a year and a half or so. If he does, and again, Jeff, I understand your question. What happens if he just says, "Oh, well, I won't do anything in Tennessee"? I'm not sure we have a lot of recourse other than that.
All right, you've heard.
I have a question. How do we monitor what he does? I mean, who's going to tell us he's doing a project in Lebanon, Tennessee? I mean, does he have to submit that to the board? I mean, I'm not. I don't follow the monitoring of someone's work. I don't think that's possible. Honestly, that's one thing. And secondly, we have in our. I don't have the amounts in front of me, but we have a $500 to $1,000 range that we can do, and more if the board so chooses. So I think, I would at least raise the fine to $1,000 instead of, or what was the amount? Huh?
It's 1,500.
1,500. So if you double that, it's 3,000.
Yeah.
And so that is a pretty substantial penalty in itself. But the monitoring, I don't know how we enforce that.
Yeah, that's a great question, Rick. And if we put somebody on probation and we tell them all plans are subject to review, how do we monitor that? How do we can we require him to submit all plans to the licensing board?
One thing that we've done with other boards, and to Rick's point, we haven't really fleshed that one out on this board for a variety of reasons. But one thing we've done, I can just borrow from the appraiser board, when they're doing their experience interviews, they give us a log of all their work, and then we randomly select, however many we want. In this case, we'll pull 3 within the last year, and try a different variety of targets depending on what their license type is. But that's up to us to decide which ones we pull. And then they provide that, and then we review it for their experience. So that would be an option. Something, again, we don't have a template for that from Mr. Thompson's point. But
there is a precedent set by another board.
Yeah, for experience reviews, this would be a little different, but still work review. Yes, so we've done that there. We could do that here if we needed to. We could flesh it out.
So just to make sure I understand what you're saying, that we could require him that he give us a listing of any work that he performs in the state of Tennessee?
It would need to be a log, otherwise it's not, what's the point, you know?
Yes.
You'd kind of want something, that he would have to, some sort of attestation that this is everything that I've done within a period of time, you know, and here's the log of work for which you then would select, we would select. But just him giving us what he wants, you know, that, I mean, we wouldn't do that, but, and no one would ask us to, I know you wouldn't, but it's just, that would be the only process I can see to provide some sort of quality controls for what we receive and to make sure that we're doing what we want to do, which is.
But we could elect to go in and review anything that he's submitted on that log, assuming, again, he's demonstrated a reluctance to always tell the truth. I mean, he could put anything on that log or nothing on that log.
Well, and that's why you would need an attestation, because then we get in misconduct, a complaint later, we find out you didn't, you know, so it would have to be a log firmed up with an attestation, otherwise we're kind of right back to what you just started, what you stated.
Yeah, I'd like to make it where he's required to give us a log of whatever projects he does in Tennessee. And if there is a project done that he hasn't given us, he is revoked. There's a consequence to not reporting it.
I agree, but we need to set a time. How long do we want him to submit the log?
For 1 year.
I'd say,
or whatever.
I'd say until his next renewal.
Okay. For 2 years.
Everything. I'm okay with that. I mean, I would require him to update the log on some regular basis, yeah.
So probably one way to do it is just, you know, our first review sort of mid-March, because, I mean, obviously we got to be able to functionally administrate, practically do it. So I was thinking you could just say at this checkpoint, everything through this registration, and then at the point of his registration, you know, like a month prior. So if you run into anything, you could deal with it then. So 30 days prior to his expiration date, we could do everything, you know, a log of all of his work throughout his renewal cycle. And then at the 1 year mark, halfway mark, and then at the end as well. So you've got 2 basically review periods. And then select 2 or 3 from each, you know. Obviously, it can't be overly burdensome either. So 3 for the first year, and then 3 for the second half as well. You could do that. That'd be a good sample size.
I agree. Do we have the ability to have a calendar notification to send out to him, say, you need to submit your log?
Yeah, I mean, that would be written up in the agreed citation upon this date and upon that date, whatever. You know.
But do we monitor that? And if he fails to submit the log, I mean, that should be grounds for revocation of his license.
Right. Correct. Well,
Okay.
I mean, you know, all those terms have to be written in, and however you want to do that, Scott. I don't want to get in front of you. Obviously, it's your bag, but.
I don't know if that would be a possibility. We could set something up in core to monitor that.
There's flags on the legal side, but I mean, we could also do that at the operational level. So yeah, but it would probably, I'm trying to think, I don't know all of your flags that you have available. I know that they have them. But you could put a banner to keep you from renewing. That we could do, you know, until that's been met. So yeah, we could do that. We could just put a modifier that stops them from renewing until they've satisfied that requirement. And then if they miss those checkpoints, that's on them. You know, I wouldn't try to hold their hand on it. You know, obviously something that important. You know, that it's not like renewals where that's more of an administrative thing. This is your agreed citation. You know, and then we could open a complaint if he fails to meet it, and that way we can close this complaint so it's not aging. You know, and then open up a new complaint if he's failed to meet his terms in the original.
I have a last question. Are the instances in all these states related to a few instances that cascade into reporting violations, or is it are these each different violations?
Several of them are related to California. Oklahoma had their own independent one.
There's really 2.
Well, Minnesota also had the claim for incompetence.
So we got 3.
Correct.
And just so you know, but before I load, I don't want to load you up on reviews because our associate engineers will be doing the reviews. So just to keep you in mind. So you're looking at 3, it expires 1/31/27. So 1/31/2026, he would owe us 3 for the year prior. And then 30,
That's the review.
Yeah. So, then about 30 days prior to his expiration date, he would get another one, so that would be sort of the idea for 3 more.
Okay, so let me make an attempt at amending the recommendation then, if we can. We want to recommend, and I agree with Rick, that based on the fact that this is somewhat callous, that I do agree that $1,000 per incident and his failure to report incidences in other states, in other jurisdictions. So that's a total of $3,000, and require that the respondent provide a log of all projects and work performed in Tennessee. What is this?
At mid-renewal and then 30 days prior to end of renewal would probably be good targets.
That's okay. Good, I'll accept that.
Can I just add something really quick? I'm so sorry. I don't think we have a system in place to actually monitor, to make us a regular kind of pop-up situation on our end. However, I think we can make it his duty to put that information in, and if he signs a consent order, then and doesn't abide by it, then there's additional
And when
violations.
his license comes up for renewal in 27, if he hadn't submitted the logs, then we'll say
Then that's additional.
and we can tell him that in the order, that violation of this or failure to submit at these dates will revoke in revocation of license.
Yeah, we can put in the consent order,
Yeah.
the specific dates and when it's due and a time frame. That way it's very clear that it's the 3 months, 6 months, and then
Yes.
30 days beforehand.
Good. And thank you.
Like that, no hand holding around here, you know what I mean? You already messed up, so we're not going to do it for you, right? So, thank you.
And I would also like to add to my recommendation that he pass the law and rules exam.
There were other states that required not only him to do that, but one of them required him to take an ethics course as well.
So let's, I think we're feels like the edges of a motion. You were working through that, so you got $3,000 for the fine, right?
For the 3 events, the failure to report the 3.
Right, so 3,000 total.
Total.
And then laws and rules exam, and then 2 check-in points at a halfway point of his renewal cycle, which would be January 31st, and then 30 days before his expiration, or when it's time to renew again in January, or which would be, I think, December of 2026. So 2 check-in points, 3 for the year prior, at midpoint check, 3 at the end, and then associate engineers will be reviewing those. And then if there's issues there, then we just, the recommendation is for revocation, we probably have to litigate that what those issues are. So a complaint would probably have to be opened because we're dispatching this complaint.
Well, but this would be his failure to submit the documentation we've asked him to.
Yeah, now that would be fine because then that's easy. We could clear that.
Yes.
We're not talking about competence, which is sort of a subjective thing.
Yes.
That's an objective issue. Then that would be then a recommendation for revoke if he fails to
Yeah,
met
because
his
he
obligation.
would in essence fail to comply with the order.
Correct. So that's your motion, though. Is that your motion? I don't want to tell you the.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
I will. Can he do the motion since he reviewed it?
Oh, no.
No, I'm not making the motion. I was modifying the recommendation.
So a recommendation for the motion. So we'll still need a motion in that regard. Do we have a motion in that regard?
I'll give it a shot, but you guys, everybody jump in. But I think I was following it. But basically, I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation. However, we raise the amount from $500 each to $1,000 each. We also recommend, or we not recommend, but we ask that the
or require.
Yeah, requirement that the respondent, I guess, issue by at the halfway point for his renewal and at the end of, before his renewal, all the projects that he has worked on or that he has stamped and in Tennessee. And also that he take the rules and laws, regulation.
Take and pass.
And pass. You said something about ethics, but is that one too, or?
Yeah, that's a part of it, I think.
Okay.
That's part of the rules.
Okay. Is that everything?
Yeah. And then just as a matter of clarification, we'll pull 3 from each of those and then send them to you guys for that. Yeah. So we got a motion on you did all right, Brian. Yeah, you're in charge of that from now on when we get a real difficult one. Do we have a second? Second. Got a second from Mr. Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Oh, so go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Regarding the midway, should we not associate a real date to that?
It would be actual mid, so that would be January 31st, 2026. So yeah, actual mid date. Or
does it make sense to add that to be very specific? Because
we'll put that in the AC.
People mince with words
Yeah.
and
No, it
let's not
won't.
go there.
Yeah, it won't be loosey goosey. It'll be articulated in the agreed citation or what those dates are. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. So we got all in favor said aye. We already did that. Do we have any opposed? All right. Hearing none, we are good to go. We're looking for number 5 then.
All right, number 5. This is case number 2025-037-401. This case involves a professional engineer who is currently serving a 2-year sentence in Georgia on convictions of peeping Tom and eavesdrop and surveillance with a maximum possible release date of June 15th, 2027. Our rule states that a registrant may be deemed to be guilty of misconduct if they have been convicted of a felony or failed to report such action within 60 days. The respondent did not report his conviction. Therefore, the legal recommendation is to authorize formal charges and settlement through a consent order with a civil penalty for $500 for failing to report the conviction and an additional $500 for the conviction itself. And then also discuss possible suspension or revocation of a license for the felony arrest conviction.
You know, this is the second one of these that we've had that are relatively similar. I hope this is not becoming a trend.
I did not have this. Yeah.
I appreciate that clarification from our architect and landscape architects.
I did not have this one on my bingo card.
I've got a question. Is this person a Tennessee resident?
No, I believe Georgia. Currently residing in the Georgia penal system. I assume he was a resident of Georgia at the time.
I would like to move that we follow the recommendation with the addition of suspension of license.
And may I add one thing? That would have to be subject to the provisions of the Fresh Start Act, since this is based upon a criminal conviction.
Well, he's not out of jail, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Are
looks
we?
like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. It says release date of 6/15/2027. So go ahead. Scott, did you have anything you want to add to that?
You bring up the Fresh Start Act. What does that mean? Is there any information we need to know about that before we follow through with this motion?
If you recall, while he's going through his notes, we did that at the last one. And that one, we went through 4 elements, and one of those elements required evidence of rehabilitation because we have to tie it directly to their profession, as you know. And so I don't, and Scott may be able to tell me if we're prepared to have a fresh start review at this meeting, or perhaps we're not in a rush because he's in jail, you know? So it's like if we needed to, we could do a full fresh start review, you know, in December, and then go through the elements and see if we can get some of those additional documentation, unless Scott already has that in the file, and I don't want to step away start doing.
Could we revoke his license and not eligible to reapply until 6/15/2027? And then we start the criteria for the Fresh Start Act, because he can't practice, he can't do continuing education. I mean, he can't do anything.
Well, the date that I listed, that was his maximum
Right.
release
Right.
date, so there's a possibility of an earlier release.
Right, but it gives us, that's the date we can work from, and regardless if it's earlier, he's still got a lot of ground to make up before we even, I don't know, that's a thought.
Well, and our last guy, he was coming to us by way of renewal. And so he's going to have to renew, and then we could do the fresh start review then when he comes to renewal, like we did with the other fella. And hopefully by then, maybe he'll have access to the information we need, you know, counseling records, you know, whatever that we, for that to make that. So I don't want to get in the way. I don't know what Scott has or doesn't have or where we're at. But this one's kind of early in the case, so we may need a little bit more time on that one.
Yeah, but you could obviously do something now, that way he's not stealing drawings from the, I mean, you've got to take an action some way, right?
I got a question here. I see that, you know, the $500 for failing to report, but there is a $500 for being convicted. Are we punishing him for things he's done in Georgia he's already being punished for already?
Those are two separate ones, and again, Scott, if you wanted to pipe in, feel free. But one, there's a separate provision for reporting, and then one for, you know, for the actual penalty itself. So that was a separate charge because he failed to report.
And when I looked at the Georgia, I believe I looked at the Georgia's board website, and then I could not find any disciplinary action that they had yet taken. It may be in process. So I'm not sure what Georgia has done.
So we have our motion in a second with the fresh, do we need to do anything specific about the Fresh Start Act once we need to add that to our amendment, or is it just law?
You could say at time of renewal, you know what I mean? We can do a fresh start review, you know, at time of renewal. There's just there's different ways to do it, and one thing that we were talking about here was the potentiality for a fresh start renewal or at the time of renewal. Is that be something that legal would be interested in, you know, prosecuting? Then just basically enter a recommendation to close this one out, and then part of that recommendation meaning just we would do a fresh start renewal upon their application for renewal. Is that could be that'd be right up. So, okay, I think that would probably work. And then we could do just like we did with the other one, put a modifier so to kind of block them from renewing until we take care of that issue. So do we just need a recommendation in that regard then?
Since I made the motion, I would like to add that to the motion.
Okay.
And at that time, we would be able to see what, you know, it says he's had some kind of therapy or something, I believe in here. So, see what progress he's made in that direction. And that way we would be evaluating it per the Fresh Start Act. Right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't think even Fresh Start allows anybody that's been in jail to come out and do whatever.
Right. Okay, so
I do add that to the motion.
So you're accepting the recommendation for the $1,000
Yes.
Okay, and so then and then part two from the recommendation is that we will do a fresh start review at the time of his renewal application. Okay, was that your
Well,
recommendation?
but it's suspended until that time, or it's not renewed until that time.
Yeah, so, well, it's active now, but obviously he's not using it, but subject fresh start review. So we would do like we did with the last one at the time of his renewal application. And like you did before, you let that one lapse, and then he'll come back later. So that was the decision then. But so a fresh start review at the time of the renewal application and then of course the fine. And so that we have a recommendation or a motion on the floor in that regard from Mr. Waxter. Do we have a second? All right, we got a second from Mr. Tibbs. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. 6.
And just to clarify, that was approval of the $1,000 penalty only, and we'll do the Fresh Start Act upon license renewal?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, case number 6. This is case number 2025-039-321. This involves a professional engineer. When the respondent renewed their Tennessee renewal license May 31st of 2024, they answered no to having any disciplinary action or being subject to any disciplinary action in any other state in the past 2 years. However, in the following month, June 20th, 24, a consent order was filed by the Oklahoma State Board for disciplining the respondent for practicing in the area outside of his competency on 5 projects, and he was ordered to pay a penalty of $4,000. Although the disciplinary action in Oklahoma occurred a few weeks after the Tennessee renewal application, the respondent's attorney acknowledged that the Oklahoma disciplinary action, or he was subject to the Oklahoma disciplinary action in May of 2024, which would have been prior to his Tennessee renewal application. Therefore, the statement that he was not subject to any discipline in any other state or jurisdiction was a misstatement. The mitigating factor is that the respondent eventually reported the Oklahoma discipline when they realized that the third-party agent that they were using for license renewal failed to notify the state boards of that action. So the legal recommendation is to authorize a consent order with a similar penalty in the amount of $500 for providing willfully false information on the Tennessee renewal application. And I would add that since this complaint was filed, in doing research, I discovered that August of 2025, the respondent entered a consent order with West Virginia State Board in which they were ordered to pay a penalty of $500 for providing misinformation on their renewal application. That could be grounds for suspension or revocation in Tennessee. However, I am not recommending that at that time, since the West Virginia Board did not revoke or suspend the license at that time
And it
either.
very well could have been that he failed to report that he'd had complaint in another jurisdiction too. So, and in this particular case, I don't think I was aware that there were third-party firms that did this for people, but evidently that's a pretty good business. He provided an email where he had instructed this company that did that for him to report it on all of his renewals, but it wasn't until July, a couple of months after he was due in Tennessee. And again, he did acknowledge that he had failed, he failed to submit it, or they had failed to submit it, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't relieve him of the responsibility of reporting it correctly. So there are no other aggravating factors, but I kind of felt like the fact that he, once he saw that they hadn't told us about that in the renewal, he told us. So I guess maybe that might be somewhat of a mitigating factor, but I do think that's a fair and reasonable resolution, the $500 charge.
I move we accept the recommendation.
Got a recommendation to accept. Waxter, we got a second from Mr. Parker. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, that is passed. Thank you. We are ready for number 7.
Number 7, case number 2025-041-401. This involves a professional engineer. On July 17th, 2025, the respondent timely reported an out-of-state of disciplinary action that occurred in Colorado. Colorado State Board issued a letter of admonition for failing to report discipline received in Alabama in 2023. This board issued a letter of caution regarding the Alabama disciplinary action in 2023, I believe. Upon investigation, discovered that the respondent had also signed a consent order in 2024 with the Virginia board, which resulted in a sanction and a civil penalty of $150 in costs for failing to report the 2023 Alabama discipline. The respondent did not report the Virginia discipline to this board. However, neither the Colorado nor Virginia disciplinary actions were a reportable action under our rules. Therefore, my recommendation is to close with a letter of caution.
Quick question: was the Alabama disciplinary action? Did that occur in the time frame that he was practicing, had a license to practice in Tennessee, and before his renewal?
He previously reported the Alabama, right? He reported that to us.
To Tennessee? Oh, okay.
In the history, you'll see up there. Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I don't think any of those were post the question.
No.
Because his license ends in 12/25.
I did note that the respondent was first licensed in Tennessee in 2007. I don't know if that's been a continuous license, though.
Any further discussion or or motions? All right, got a motion from Mr. Tibbs to accept council's recommendation.
I've
Mr.
got
Waxman?
one comment
Yes,
just
sir.
before we go on. It appears to me that someone, and apparently this is a Tennessee engineer, I guess, but that someone continuously fails to report. You'd think they'd learn after a while that we're serious about this. And I guess a letter of caution might show that we're serious about your being honest with the board.
Yeah, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, and Eddie, you were up in it too, but, or Eddie, if you've got comments, just go ahead and, hammer.
From what I understand, if you look at the history, he reported the Alabama. And the others occurred inside, and those were non-reportable items until his next renewal. So I couldn't find out. It's hard to tell him what he did wrong, because he reported the Alabama. These others occurred inside the licensure period. So really, he hasn't misstepped until he answers no on December of this year when he renews. and he's technically not, right, he's not obligated to report these others because they're not labeled in our rules as reportable items.
Correct.
I'd like to know how come we don't have a letter of admonition?
And that's one of the reasons why we have our letter of caution policy, you know, because we don't want to sort of double tap somebody and by cascading effect, one person gets penalized in a jurisdiction and everywhere they have a license, they get hammered for it when they've already done their time per se, you know. So
It's kind of also a reminder that, hey, your renewal's coming up.
Right.
And we know this. And
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably what Frank's getting at is
Yeah.
on renewal, if he answers no, I think that's when I think you got to move it up a little bit.
Context is king, isn't it? You know, he's really, the devil's in the details, so it's good that you guys flesh that out. I should expect that from design professionals, right? So we do have we've got a motion on the floor from Mr. Tibbs, and we'll have further discussion if we get a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
We've got a second from Mr. Waxer. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, then that one's passed. And then our last one is for Miss Carter, and this is a represent. And so she's passing the baton to Scott. Did he do okay? Yeah, okay. He's doing all right. But she's going to wrap us up and bring us home on her represent. And thank you, Scott, for carrying us through there. Appreciate all the detail and shepherding that.
Okay, so the last case is 2024-068-111. And it's a represent that was previously presented on a legal report. A respondent had stated that they had practiced while the license was expired. At the time, the respondent said that they selected yes on accident and they had not worked with the public since it had expired. At that time, I had reached out to the company to see if they had still worked for that company and see what the scope of their work was. And at the time, I did not have a response before it was presented to the board. The new information that I have is that after receiving a consent order, the respondent did contact me and still disagreed with the civil penalty and maintained that their duties did not include stamping documents or having or requiring any engineering certificates. Also received and talked to their former supervisor and was given a brief description of their job title and their duties. The former supervisor said that when the lapse occurred, the respondent's primary focus was on designing and supporting digital systems for monitoring process analyzers and laboratory instrumentation with no fieldwork involved. And based on the information and the conversations that I had, the new recommendation is to close the matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't appear to be a health, safety, and welfare related issue. The guy's not preparing plans. He's working on software or whatever. And he just accidentally put yes. We've had other cases where people have done that. If you don't read it somewhat carefully, you can make that mistake. I think it was just a simple mistake.
Make a motion, we accept the recommendation to close.
Got a motion from Mr. Thompson. Do we have a second? Got a second from Ms. Dawes. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then that we accept council's recommendation, and thank you both for your hard work in the transition, and Ms. Martin too, in support while shepherding us through some very difficult cases. We've had some that were sort of in backlog for a little while, and kind of worked through all of those, and appreciate everyone's hard work on that and your support. All right, looks like we're ready then. Does legal have anything else that they would like to cover or discuss? Okay.
I have a small thing. There's possibly going to be a potential hearing in December for one of the cases that we have filed before. So I want to kind of give you guys a heads up. It might be the day before, on December 5th.
We're going to try to do it the day before. You guys used to come in the day before for your committees anyway, and if we did it that afternoon, you're not having to get another day. You know, you just have to come in a little early. We could do the hearing at like 1 o'clock. You know, you get lunch somewhere around here. Come for the hearing at 1 o'clock the day before that Wednesday, and then have your board meeting the next day. Trying to minimal impact as possible. So, and I know she'll work out the details on that. But.
And they are represented, so like the planning will probably depend on that, but you guys will have notice beforehand. Just want to give you a heads up.
What member was involved in that review?
I believe it was Alton.
Which one are we talking about?
I think it's anonymous, so I can't tell you at the moment, but we can discuss it
Yeah.
whenever it's filed.
Okay.
Well, they'll shepherd us through all that when we get there, but, obviously, a formal hearing is a little different than the complaints, because then you'll know their identity then, and they'll defend themselves. It'll be kind of like what you it's closer to a trial, if you will. You have service, the custodian of record, any evidence they can cross-examine, all that kind of stuff. And you're the jury, administrative law judge will be present to make sure we all, stay between the rails, that kind of stuff. But all on the record, yeah. Thank you, Ariel. All right. Looks like then we're ready for committee reports. And so the first one we'll do is landscape architect. And then we'll do grants and then nominations. So landscape architect, Blair, if you want to just give us a quick little update about what happened, what we do.
The question is, what did we do?
Yeah, Daryl McCain, our application review. That's all we did.
That was over an hour ago.
Yeah, I know. So.
We did. And what was our final recommendation there?
I have to pull them up myself. I've since...
2 hours ago.
I can go while Blair's looking for his, if you'd rather do that.
My notes I didn't take.
You go ahead and read it in. Go ahead, Alex. What you got there?
You guys voted that the applicant has to satisfy the terms of his consent order in Texas, and then he can proceed with the Tennessee application.
Look at that. Moa, she got me too, man. I was looking at
That's
scrimming through my
correct. Well
notes.
done, Alex. Well done.
She thought not having a mic in front of her was going to save her. Nope. Nope. I was wondering where all the microphones are down here collected, and I mean? I was like, what's happening? You ever see those like dictators in some country, like 15 microphones, I was like, why are they over here? So, yeah, so just like we've done before with some of our applications, he just has to satisfy his terms there in Texas. So, and then you mentioned that we're going to do we're going to have a landscape architect committee
Meeting in December.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, to compare the CLARB's uniform standards to what we do here in Tennessee.
Yeah,
So,
very good.
thank you.
It's kind of hurtful, isn't it? I mean, you noticed that too, did you? It's kind of hurtful. I know. Maybe it's because it's straightforward and it's easy to remember. I thought so anyway, until me and Blair just started looking at each other like. But okay. Thank you very much for that. Looks like grants to higher education. Then, Mr. Heathcote.
I'm ready.
All right.
We opened the meeting almost on time with all committee members present. We had 19 applications to review and consider. All applications met the criteria established for the use of the funds. The committee voted to approve and authorize distribution of the funds as calculated in that knucklehead spreadsheet, awarding a total of the full $400,000 allocation.
All right. That's pretty good. And it was a really good dispersion too with its many proposals that we had to get it, done to properly distribute that. I thought that was the enrollment's very helpful. It's because you make sure that you're not giving like disproportionately giving some program with 200 students or something, or maybe less than that, something that's maybe like Tennessee Tech would get, So it was really nice
that was the purpose when it was established originally, to make sure that everybody got something, and what it does is it keeps somebody with a small, it could be landscape architecture or interior design from only getting, $150 out of something, and let them share more in in the award.
Yeah, and I was really pleased with all of the proposals because they're really focused where they're supposed to focus. I mean, we give them the terms and what eligibility looks like, and they've taken that to heart. And then by now they've pretty much dialed in, and so
It's pretty much a template for them. They go in and edit it every year and reestablish things like what they're asking for. That's always different, of course, and the number of students are the things I'm looking at too is important.
All right, good deal. And then we also established that Alton is chair of that for life. I think we talked about that as well. And then other than that, we pretty much covered the gamut. Thank you for getting that done and for your work in that regard. Looks like we're good for nominations committee then, if you want to give us an update, Ms. Doss.
Thank you. The nominations committee has put forth a slate for 2026, and Frank Wagster is the chair. Jeff Nally is the vice chair, and we are going to have a conversation with Mr. Philip Lim as to see, he is on the call. Is he still?
Oh, Mr. Lim, are you still on the call?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. I'm hearing everything.
Oh, strike the record.
Dr. Ash would like for us to have a conversation with you about being secretary for 2026. Would you accept that nomination?
Do I need to give you as long as Elton is okay with that, I'll take it.
I think we need
I'd say
a
I'll be-
shakedown here. I think we need a full body probe, everything with this guy.
Well, he's been vetted. We let him back after he served however many years, so he's good to go. So yeah, Mr. Lim, if you're good with serving as secretary, we'd appreciate that, and we'll just move forward with the slate.
No. All right, thank you, and it's a pleasure to do it.
Thank you, sir. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you very much. So that completes our slate.
All right, so then in that case, then since we do have something actionable, and we'll also have to do that for grants of higher education as well, I just realized. So for nominations, we have a motion for the slate being as such: Waxter for chair, Nally for vice chair, and then Mr. Lim for secretary. So that's our motion from the committee. Do we have a second? We got a second from Dr. Ash. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
I'm hearing Alton was the only one that opposed, Lim, just so you know, but he's not allowed, so we shut that down. So that one passes. We have our slate for next year. Thank you for serving. Then back to the grants. We do have a motion from the grants committee to accept the breakdown and dispersions as you see before you. So we just need a second in that regard. Do we have a second? Got a second from Ms. Doss. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, then that is passed, and we'll get that to contracts, and then those dispersions will go out in those awards out in February. So, all right. Last but not least, then new business. Do we have any new business? And then we'll go to public comment. And then
May I make a quick, just a thought that spreadsheet, the grants spreadsheet is awesome.
Yeah.
It's packed full of information. I love that stuff, but it really helps us. So thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I would also add that when I first started on the board, we would have a retreat month or meeting. And my first was at Paris Landing State Park. We had it at Vanderbilt. And I think it's a good thing. When we were at Vanderbilt, I know students came in and they were able to observe what the board was doing or whatever. So I'd still like to put the flag up and suggest that we reinitiate that, because I think that once a year, and once a year will be a good thing, not just for the board, but I think wherever we go, whether it's university or wherever we go, I just think it's a healthy thing, because we're trying to spread the word as to what we do. And as the example of Vandy, how many students do we touch, on that day or those days? So just a thought. Thank you.
Thanks.
We had that exact conversation before the meeting today, and how great it was when we used to be able to do that, and the interaction with not only the students but the professors too, and get their perspective on things. Those were great events, great for getting to know each other and have the camaraderie among the board too. And I know that's not the objective, but it sure is a nice residual benefit.
Thank you.
Who do you take that to there, Mr. Executive Director?
No, I was just making some notes to myself in that regard.
To ignore it?
Yeah. How'd you know? I even put it in caps. Ignore. Anyway, I was just some mental notes. I'm trying to chase those rabbits in my head. One of those things is just locality. There's a move in some of our other boards to bring that back to Nashville, and primarily there's some logistical considerations for that, but there's some reasons for that. So that was one of the things I actually wrote down was local ? To kind of explore that, to see what the other programs are doing, what the admins take on that, what the concerns are, all that kind of stuff. So it's really more of exploratory phase for me at this point. Since that was something initially we just didn't even have the capacity for when we were in transition. You remember our grants meeting like 2 years ago? Now try to take that on the road. You know what I mean? Like we had to work that out. But we're at a lot better place than we have been at some of those levels. So just at this point, I'd have to ask some of those questions and explore some of that about what that would look like, what the parameters would be. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I just need to kind of fill out the edges. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we've been talking about AI, and we had, I guess, Speaker Tom, a few meetings ago about that. There were questions asked of us about that during the Tennessee Engineering Conference, and we're wondering if we can adopt some sort of a policy, for example, what NCEES has to be added to our policies or reference manual in that case.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm chasing all those rabbits. We're trying to move away from policies and then put things in rule, but then you can't be as flexible if you put it in a rule, and some things don't necessarily rise to the level of rules, so policies still are helpful, and especially in our particular board. The board did make a statement on ANI, and so that's helpful. We worked through some of that about how we view AI, its implementation, its uses, so that's helpful. The only thing I would say about policies is I would like to see some of that flesh out with some of the other jurisdictions before we sort of paint ourselves in a corner. I think that's the only thing I'm concerned about. Doesn't mean we couldn't, but we could begin some sort of a draft summary. I think that would be helpful. A work product first that we could bring before to carve up. If we're just speaking in sort of the philosophical, that's a little bit harder to wrap our hands around. But per our process, you guys have done great with that. We talk about things. Somebody gives us a draft, collection. I collect that, collate it together into a work product, and then we carve it up in committee or with the board. So that's been really helpful. I think we just need to start moving that direction. We just need to start with the statement we already made, and then see if that turns into a policy. And then if we can put some meat on it, and it seems helpful, then we'll just go down that pike. We'll see where it goes. Yes, sir?
I have a question. Have our rules actually been enacted?
No, they did get signed off by admin, so just give you an update while we're there. But we had some changes, if you recall, from the last meeting. And so we won't have to do another rulemaking hearing. Thank you, Laura. Should work it through that, making some of those edits. Admin, they signed off on it. So now it goes to AG's office. If there's nothing that's going to jam us up or there's no problems with other rules, statutes, or codes elsewhere, they'll give it a pass. And if that looks good, then we'll probably get a government ops hearing for our rules sometime beginning of next year. And then, so a few months, it's not long. And then after that, we're past the worst of it, the long way. It's palpable now. And so once it hits GovOps, that if they approve, they'll give it a vote up or down, and then once that approves, it should be, implemented within a couple months.
Okay. One of the reasons I was asking that, somebody had asked me a question, and I had gone to our website and looked at their, what do we call it? Anyway, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it.
Reference manual, maybe?
Yeah, the reference manual, there you go. And it still says we're basing stuff on the 1985 Standard Building Code, which I guess, since these haven't been passed, we still are. Is that correct? Which is ridiculous.
I don't remember there being any references to the, I'll have to just look at
They're
it. I don't-
there.
Yeah, well, I mean, not in the reference manual. I
Yes.
want to say, I'm sure it is. What I'm saying is the rules. I don't remember any references to the,
No, we changed that to be based on the present day.
Okay. Well, in that case, then
IBC,
we will have to wait on those rules. Yeah.
International Building
Yeah.
Code.
And so once those get through, then that'll be an update for our reference manual. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a guide. The reference manual isn't a policy, obviously, you know, you take that in context with everything else. If you have rules in place and the board's position is such, now, obviously, we want those things to sync up, but, you know, thankfully, we
Yeah.
haven't any complaints in that regard, so.
Yeah, I was almost thinking about recommending pulling it. Because, well, I guess until the rules are changed, it's still in effect, but it sure gives some people a reason to do things like they shouldn't. And then here's the book, here's what it says.
And I'm glad we're
There's
talking.
there's definitely some contradictions
Yeah.
with the new rules and the reference manual.
Yeah.
There are.
And I would recommend perhaps we, if there, you know, we can just pull the reference manual for now and just wait to, you know, to review that in conjunction with the rules that get passed. We could do that. That's fine.
So it's under construction there.
So is that something you would be comfortable with, that the board would be comfortable with, if we just pull the reference manual right for now? And okay, we'll just do that then. Okay. All right. Anything else in new business? Okay. Public comments then. Do we have anyone online that signed in for public comments? Okay, let me check the pad behind me. No one there either. So last call for public comments. If no public comments, then we can move on to your last act as chair.
We are adjourned.
All right, thank you. Yeah. All right, and